so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm, equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space, beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Ayo. 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 What up, though? Oh. Party people in the house. No, party rocking. We're party rocking in the house tonight. Happy Friday. Congratulations on making it through another week. Good job there. Got a new background, new chat background provided by the legendary, the inimicable, the undisputed champion, Old Lobster. You saw some new pics in the intro. Also, Old Lobster. Yeah, buddy. Oh, what do we got? Party rocking in the house tonight. Everybody just have a good time. Okay. Quick bit of news. Not much. So, this is from Brian Ramel. I'm still going with until I figure otherwise. A new technique called streaming LLM. The papers on Archive can handle infinite text input without any drop in accuracy by using key tokens that guide the model's decisions and caching recent tokens. Result: 22 times faster inference. And this is an example. Okay. So, explain this to me like I'm 10, says Dre Photon. Trust nothing says, imagine you have a car and it needs to drive to a city. The total number of instructions required is infinitely large. The car can't store all the instructions, so it reads some instructions, travels, reads more, travels, etc. until it reaches the city. Every day is an improvement, right? Every day, Ferris. Every day is an improvement. Yeah, that's for later. Robot news. This is Fourier GR1, general purpose humanoid robot. Again, your boy is not a fan of humanoid robots for general purpose, but here we are. This is what it looks like. Whole body composed of 40 FSA joints. You can see it moving in different formats. And you can apparently sign up, you contact them and, get information on ordering a robot. And again, I'm just not a fan. Like this, we've seen much better designs that don't involve these two legs, but it's still neat. The advantage of the humanoid robot. I know I talk shit about humanoid robots a lot. The advantage to the humanoid robot is, at least in theory, that you don't have to make any adjustments to any existing infrastructure. You just let the robot come into the spaces that already exist, and it can, walk upstairs, and it can, I don't know, drive a car, any of that kind of stuff. You don't have to make any adjustments. However, if your location is compliant, then a non-humanoid robot should be able to do the same kind of things. Like wheelchair accessibility is, provides an environment in which a non-legged robot can drive around on its tracks or wheels or what have you. So if your building is compliant, it should be able to handle non-humanoid robots as well. And that's it, because these other bits are related to the Cody video, the Some More News, which really, as usual, irked the shit on me. Just say you don't like robots, Cody. Just say you don't like, AI. I know you don't like tech bros, and that's fine. I don't like tech bros either. The couple of new videos I want to get to first, just in case we get any late people coming in. All right. No. Stop. Paris. Your boys haven't. Yes. No, we're not watching that. Your boys having a bit of a day. Bit discombobulated. Don't worry, folks. I'll get my shit together. Okay. So we got a video from David Shapiro. About Neuralink and the fact that Neuralink has started human trials. Yeah. Let us see what David's do the thing so that it doesn't. All right, we'll just roll with it. Do. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. All right. Hit me, David. And that's fair, right? Like ethical questions are ethical questions, and I know I'm not gonna defend anything. I just rarely do we look at things in the nuancing, complex way that they actually exist. We generally have simple takes and go from there. I don't like Elon Musk. I think he's bad for everything that I do like. So we'll let David have his piece. And again, what gets lost, I said this before, about Neuralink as a company is they do have a variety of high precision robotic assistants and surgeons, things of that nature, and there you don't hear anything about them because they do what's intended, right? To paraphrase what I'm gleaned off Twitter about something Joe Biden said today, yesterday, something like that. Is they don't talk about the planes that land, right? And Neuralink has a lot of quality pieces of equipment, but it's the brain implant and everything that has gone along with the brain implant that is the news, right? Whatever part of the political spectrum you're on, that's the news. And as I've said previously, I think that fear of AI is driven by an upending of the existing power structure. Um, and that's what, you know. There's a lot of things that exist. Like, for example, when you ask somebody what they want, right? One of the common things that people say that they want is more money, and that is, in my experience at least, right? I'll admit my sample size is problematic, but in my experience, um, money is rarely what people want. They want the things that money can do. And money is a catch all term, it's shorthand for agency, for not having to go to work today, for being able to buy nicer clothes, buy a house, have a nicer car, take care of the people that you might love, any of these things, right? Those are more specific. Money is the catch-all, and there's that layer behind it, which is the true driving force. And I think it's in your benefit to do some introspection when you have a goal and try to figure out if your goal is actually your goal. Because sometimes, often, pursuing the wrong goal will lead you in unintended directions and create extra work, right? Just ask yourself, is this really what I'm trying to do? You know, what is it that I'm really, and when you boil it down, you might find other routes to get there that don't go through the easy shorthand routes that, you know, exist within the current space, the current meta. And fear functions in a similar way, right? Where you're not afraid of thing, you're afraid of this other thing that's behind it. Like, Elon is not afraid of AI, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but based on all the data that I've seen about Elon and his behaviors, is that he's not afraid of artificial intelligence. He's afraid that artificial intelligence is going to upend the current structure and therefore create a new structure. And he's currently top dog of that structure, or number 2 at this point. I don't know, right? And it doesn't matter that he keeps promising that the automated cars are coming later this year for the past 5-10 years, right? It doesn't matter that he said he was going to get us to Mars in 10 years and it's 2023, right? In 2013 he said it, and it's 2023, and we're not on Mars, in case you didn't notice. Because there are other motivations that exist that can explain that type of behavior, right? When Elon talks about that we're really close to self-driving cars, what up, CalOrcs? You might be on Mars, my friend. I have seen you, like, you're probably interplanetary at this point when you get like 7 dabs in. So, when Elon says that self-driving cars are coming later this year, that's propaganda. That's a sales pitch. That is maintaining investor confidence in his company. That is trying to acquire new investment in his property. All that kind of stuff. You know, like, it's easy, and you know, don't get me wrong, I do it too, but it's easy to just, like, that Elon is dumb or crazy or whatever word you want to use to describe his behavior. But when you do that, you put yourself in a situation where you're going to miss the truth. The truth, the facts, these are the things that matter. Like, as opposed to saying Elon just doesn't know what he's doing and like that, try to focus in on what motivations would make a person do what they're doing, and you'll probably have a more accurate description of what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish, right? Sound check. Y'all can hear this, right? Y'all have heard David speaking? Or have I just been sitting here in silence? Just now, no. But before you could? Weird. What up, Ellie? El the gang. Woo! Just got home from getting my booster. Okay. Do the homozygote. Congratulations. That's awesome. No, that really is. Get your vaxes. Your boy went like 2 weeks ago, and I got 4 done at once. You don't have to ask the pharmacist. The pharmacist will tell you, like, or your doctor or whatever. It's like I racked up the COVID booster, the flu shot, the Tdap, the tetanus joint, and pneumonia vax. I did them all on the same day, 2 in each arm, done. Had less than stellar Saturday, but was back on my feet and moving, no problem. Life was good. Might even been last week Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't get my 5G upgrade from the government alert, but here you are. All right. Can you hear? But you. All right.
Like, he does great things, but also he does really questionable, dubious, and potentially unethical things. I can understand the love and hate on both sides. In fact, I ran polls before on my YouTube channel, and I think Elon Musk is the most polarizing topic that I address on my channel, where people are like either on like love him or hate him. I try and take not necessarily a middle approach, but just an informed approach. So let's talk about SpaceX and OpenAI and Neuralink and now XAI and
Since you brought it up, Talix, imagine, right? Like what state of mind do you have to be in order to we're viewing with like empathy, we're viewing with like we're analyzing the situation as objectively as we can. We are deferring judgment and just looking at the situation. What is it about Elon that makes people love him? I think that one of the things is that we are suffering from a lack of. I think that's a fair assessment for a partial explanation. Hope for the future. Dunning Kruger is always there for all of us, right? Like I saw a thing, I watched a video, and it was talking about how Dunning Kruger is like something that we all have, right? Like, and that we need to. Yeah, no, and it's we lack people to believe in. I don't want to go as far as like heroes, right? But we lack heroes, you know. And there is a inbuilt desire for someone to come and save us, right? The reason it appears as an archetype in our media is that is something that we like. I don't share the common feelings around Nickelback, so you know. Yeah, like it's again, it's complex, right? Like we both abandoned third spaces and we had third spaces taken away from us, right? Like we both and I watched remember the guy who did the video on content that we watched in the AI video, and he was hating on the AI making video and people making the things, the Wes Anderson bit. um I watched a video of his about what's killing cinema, and there is a certain amount of right on there is a certain amount of that Hollywood does um condition us based on what's available, right? I want to watch a movie, I can only watch the movies that exist. I cannot watch the movies that don't exist. So whatever movies get made are a filter for what kind of content we can interact with, and there have been adjustments over time for particular types of movies. It's a good video, but it's like an hour and a half, and it's not really on the subject of AI. But I recommend it. The part that I felt that he left out in that video, along with the like, he never really touched on the fact that the reason that people aren't going to movies as much anymore and are investing more in streaming services and things like that are both the pandemic and capitalism, right? Because they don't want to be around a whole lot of people, and it costs like $10 plus just to get a ticket to see the movie, where for $10 plus I can get an entire month of a particular streaming service. So I felt that there were some things missing. But we have been we both voluntarily abandoned stuff for a variety of reasons, and we are also conditioned to abandon stuff, or stuff is taken away from us. Again, go down to your local library. Even if you're not going to go to the library, get your library card. You can use Libby, and it counts towards their numbers. Signing up for the library card is good for the library. So, I feel like Elon, people invest other humans with their desire for change, their desire for better, right? I'm getting crushed under capitalism. I'm tired as shit. I got kids to take care of. I got a job to work. I got this, I got that. I barely have an hour to myself on any day, and I'm going to sit with my wife, kids, family, what have you, and watch a show just to get some, group time before I get to bed and I wake up in the morning and do it all over again. It's very difficult to see the way in which you can carve out some space to even make a little bit of change, let alone change everything. And it's one of the things that I found that people are most resistant to, the idea of an AI future that is not cyberpunk capitalist hellscape. And I get it, right? Like, you see me, I treat people with a whole lot of grace around the thing. I don't kick people's asses because they don't agree with my positions. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try and educate people. I'm going to try to provide something. I'm going to try to build that scaffolding to get them from where they are to where I am. But don't get me wrong. I am completely aware that there is at least some fair amount of hopium in that, right? I can see logical progression. I can see how we can get there. But humans are notorious for taking what seems like a logical progression and just throwing it up in the air. Look at all of human history, but specifically you can look back in the past few years and humans' behavior around a variety of subjects. We don't have to pick out any one. Take your favorite and you can see what I'm saying. And so I get the resistance because, like, the famous quote is that people can more easily see the end of the world than they can the downfall of capitalism. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that is true of the whole thing, not just capitalism, the whole thing. This is the way it is. This is the way it will ever be. This is the way it always has been. What can I, as one person, do? I live in this, so I have to occupy that space. And big people, and it's not just Elon Musk folks, right? The number of people like the so-called Bernie bros, right? Bernie or bust. A lot of them have the same thing. This is my guy. My guy is going to change the world. And when my guy doesn't change the world, a bunch of them were like, I need to go find a new guy, a new thing. And they went in a variety of different directions. Ron Paul. You saw it with Ron Paul. Whatever you feel about Ron Paul, and I don't like Ron Paul. But look at the behavior of the people who were fans of Ron Paul and see the corollaries between the fans of Bernie Sanders, the fans of Elon Musk, the fans of any individual person. Right? Your boy is really no gods, no masters, no gods, no kings, no masters, whatever you got, right? No sacred cows. Every human being is flawed and fallible and like that. So I understand that Elon Musk stands are exasperating. But for your own benefit, to maintain your own empathy, just remember that they are human beings looking for hope. And they think that Elon is Tony Stark and can save the world.
Tesla. All of these have a technology and artificial intelligence component to why they exist. So SpaceX, Elon Musk has made no attempt to dissemble the fact that one of the primary reasons that he built SpaceX is because he wants humanity to be a multiplanetary species so that we can avoid extinction level events. Fear. OpenAI. So OpenAI, you may or may not remember, but Elon Musk was one of the original founders of OpenAI. And the explicit mission of OpenAI is to achieve AGI and do it safely. Obviously, they have pivoted and now they're more of a commercial entity.
And the part that always gets left out, and I will not ever allow to not get left out, is the reason that they pivoted is because Elon was their primary investor, made promises of billions of dollars over time when he was not allowed to run the company the way that he wanted. He withdrew himself and all of his funding, and they still sought to pursue their goal. Whether or not the nonprofit aspect of OpenAI continues, it's difficult to say. But Elon bears responsibility in this thing that was created. It's not just like Elon was the one holding them to that nonprofit good guy model, right? He wanted control, was denied control, and then took his ball and went home.
Entity that can't make up its mind whether or not it's a research entity or a commercial entity. Microsoft, however, knows what they are. But anyways, so that was another part of what he did. Neuralink, Elon Musk, specifically in the early days of Neuralink, he said that one of the potential outcomes of Neuralink is to make humans more useful to machines, or to at least align us together so that if we're working together and the machines rely on us and we rely on them, that maybe you can solve the alignment problem and prevent humans' extinction just by making sure that we are useful. Now, of course, Tesla is pivoting to be at least partially an AI company. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously. You might know that Tesla recently bought it was something like $200 million worth of NVIDIA GPUs to augment their already impressive AI hardware infrastructure. And of course, the Tesla robot Optimus is coming along really fast. They just did a video of it doing some yoga and doing some sorting. And then Elon Musk also founded X.AI, which their goal is to create a quote maximum truth-seeking AI, or to maximally understand the universe. Which I made a video about that, and I do agree with that as an objective function for language models or AI models in general. It shouldn't be the only objective, but it is a good objective. So
it is a questionable objective, in my opinion. Truth is a word. It has different meanings to different people. And what is truth? Right? If you've been on Twitter, you see, and again, I am taking what Elon does on Twitter as indicative of what he is trying to accomplish. And his associations, however tangential, with certain individuals, puts a lot of this truth-seeking into question. So, I don't... guidance is helpful. Taking the guardrails off and hoping for the best, we've seen what happens. You have to provide guidance. You have to have some kind of structure where some things are qualified or quantified as good and some are quantified as bad. Otherwise, you can't make progress. Right? Something needs to be valued, and other things need to be contraindicated. And you can't do that with a truth-seeking AI and under the guidance of what he does on Twitter, which may not even be him. He may be being a caricature. I find that worse.
When you understand that Elon Musk is afraid of AI and afraid of existential level events or extinction level events to humanity, everything that he does makes sense. It makes a lot more sense.
Disagree.
Why he pushes his workers so hard, because he literally feels like he is racing the clock to save humanity.
That is one way you could look at it. You push your workers hard because you are racing against the clock. I feel that angst myself. The number of people who don't give a shit about AI hurts my heart. The number of people who still, at this moment in time, are actively talking about artificial intelligence like it's not a thing that's happening, that it's just a grift, it's a sham, it's a fad. None of this stuff is real. It's all just wealth extraction. It makes things more difficult. My tranquil spot within that is the knowledge that I am not here to save the world. I am not here to save every individual. I am not here to like evangelize artificial intelligence. I am a teacher. I am a guy. I am here to provide the information, give you some context as I see it, and my door is open for people to come in and learn and ask questions, share ideas, do back and forth. That's what gets me through the day. Now, pushing your workers is also something that authoritarians do. That is another reasonable explanation for Elon's behavior.
I'm not going to say whether or not, sure. Like, I personally have felt that pressure as well. I don't think that I'm going to single-handedly save humanity, but I do think that we all have something to contribute. And so another way to unpack some of this background is that Elon Musk is a long-termist. So long-termism is a philosophical disposition where basically you say that the number of potential future humans is in the trillions or quadrillions. And so if you assign equal moral value to all lives, whether or not they exist today, then the total moral righteousness of future humans drastically outweighs all the moral and ethical rights of humans today. Therefore, we should sacrifice everything in order to ensure that those future humans have a chance to exist.
Now, that is what, like, in this whole long-termism thing has issues, right? Depending, it's why your boy doesn't do isms. It's why your boy doesn't do ists, right? What's your policies? So that is what David just described as one version of long-termism. You know what's another version of long-termism? Is the fight against climate change. If we did not value future generations, then we would not care. Devil, come at devil. Then we would not care what happens to the planet. Right? Because you know that I'm going to live forever, right? But the rest of you probably have some finite amount of idea that you think you're going to live to a certain age and then like that. And you may or may not have kids. You may or may not intend on having kids. You may have relatives who have kids that you care about, whatever. But you generally feel that if you're against climate change, that you are, as you see fit, my friend, you want the planet, not just the planet, because the planet doesn't give a rat's ass about us. No matter what we do, we could bump all the CO2 into the sky and do that stuff. Once we're all wiped out, the planet will do its thing, and the next whatever will happen with it. If you understand the history of the Earth, not the history of the world, the history of the Earth, crazy crap has happened before. We used to have too much oxygen on the planet, and it was dangerous. So the planet doesn't care about us in that way. It will continue on. And if you didn't care about the human beings who are going to exist on this planet, then you wouldn't care about climate change. You care about climate change because you care about those people. That's long-termism. That there is a future that we need to move and we need to plan for and we need to help guide in a way that is like more beneficial to those future generations. And that's why I disagree with the characterization of it that we should sacrifice everything for those. Because if we sacrifice everything, then there is no them. There is no future peoples among the stars.
This is a really asinine philosophical thing, but it's a philosophical thing, and it's what he believes in. And from a numerical perspective, it makes sense. Yes, you just say there's going to be there's the potential for more humans in the future. Great. But I'm a really big fan of what Vision said at the end of Age of Ultron, which is just because something doesn't last doesn't mean it isn't beautiful. And if humans go extinct, like it was a good run. I I practice radical acceptance, and I understand that we'll do the best that we can. It may or may not work. That's my personal position. But yeah, so long termism and fear of AI pretty much explains literally everything that Elon Musk does. He's very consistent when you understand that this is the background motivation and the background philosophy that drives all of his decisions. Okay,
Again, no. Like I disagree. I think that if you look at most of what he does, you can tie it into going to Mars, right? Being on Mars. Now, I think that becoming multiplanetary is a strong driver for Elon Musk, and he would love to be the guy who got us to Mars, because I do think he wants to be in the history books, right? He wants children 200 years from now. Like, if you saw the Discovery episode where he's mentioned in that he would love that, right? But like the Boring Company and the self-driving cars, um, the Starlink, uh, and obviously SpaceX, all those are related to what you would do on a new planet where you didn't have enough people and you didn't have enough infrastructure for an internet-like thing, right? And the boring aspect of it is that we are going to, in order to protect ourselves from cosmic rays, need to be a certain distance under the ground if we were to live on Mars under current conditions and current levels of technology. So you would need the ability to bore tunnels to connect one location to another and like that. And it would be a certain kind of easier to do that rather than build like big giant domes and stuff like that. Plus, under the ground tends to be safe, right? There, look at nature. Look at the number of creatures that dig themselves little holes in the ground to protect themselves and stay safe. Same thing, easy peasy. So I don't think that the fear of AI drives Elon. The fear of AI is related to the power structure thing. Everything else, I think, is motivated by his shout out to the mole people. Is motivated by him wanting to become multiplanetary, want to be in the history books, and not have. I believe that he doesn't want humanity to get wiped out. His behaviors around individual people is obviously problematic. The way he treats people who are close to him. Human relations are complex to begin with, and his nature probably makes them that much more complex. And I don't know how much he would like a humanity in which he was not, if not in charge of, influential of, right?
So, getting away from that, let's talk about my specific predictions about Neuralink. First and foremost, I think that Neuralink is going to prove to still have extremely limited bandwidth. It has 1,024 electrodes. When you compare that to the number of connections in the human brain, we have literally quadrillions of connections in the human brain. So I don't really see this as a solution for solving the bandwidth problem. It does give you a new like data tap, right? Like it's like a new API for the brain, which is really cool. So it could confer some unique capacities, but I haven't seen any evidence that it actually increases the bandwidth, the I/O bandwidth. It's a starting point, so maybe future iterations will be faster and better. I actually have some speculation about that towards the end of the video, but compare that to the human eyelid. One eyelid has more bandwidth than 1,024 electrodes in terms of the sensory information that you get from your eyelid, the amount of control, the back and forth, the two-way communication. So I don't really see Neuralink as a viable, at least in its first iteration. I don't see it as a viable solution to the bandwidth problem. More specifically, recently there's been a lot of studies and demonstrations and stuff of just passively reading brainwaves being a far superior way of reading what's going on in the brain. We've been able to reconstruct thoughts and sounds and images just by listening to brainwaves.
And this is why I think ultimately Neuralink has certain short-term possibilities, let's say, because there are already like a variety of different brain implants that are assisting people who are paralyzed or otherwise, have something with their brain where they can't operate as most of us can. And these brain implants have assisted them in that way. But like he's saying, right? Like, you could probably do better with less invasive, right?
And processing them with AI. So in terms of getting information out of the brain faster, I suspect that just having, like some kind of hat or headband.
Yeah, like this is baller. I would rock that.
Like the brain dance wreaths from Cyberpunk will probably be a better way to get high fidelity information out of the brain. It's also non-invasive, which means that you can just put the device on, take the device off, and you don't have to poke any holes in your skull. So to me, I think that focusing on brainwaves is going to be a better approach in the long run, especially when you combine those brainwave analysis with other artificial intelligence things that can optimize audiovisual input. And so think of it this way. Imagine that you have, a headband on or whatever, and you have an AI that's watching you as you're learning, and it's giving you exactly the right piece of information at exactly the right moment in exactly the right format to maximize your ability to take in information. So I suspect that using the hardware that we've already got, our eyes and ears, and then using that additional layer of telemetry by reading brainwaves is probably going to be a much more profitable avenue of research rather than poking holes in the brain. Now, one thing that I will say is that a lot of you are still very much looking forward to FDVR. I'm kind of coming around to the idea. In principle, if you can, plug something into your head and go off into dream world, that could be cool. If it's like the Matrix and it is, it feels 100% real, great. I am kind of skeptical that it is possible or feasible. Even if it is possible, it might not be commercially feasible, at least not for a while. However, there is one exception that I'll talk about in just a moment. But what I suspect is that the ability to inject information, explicitly inject information into the brain could result in basically making FDVR feel more real. And so basically, if you can tell the body, hey, like you're on a beach, and you feel the sun and all this other kind of things, you might be able to get that because you know, again, it's like the way that I think of it is Neuralink is kind of like an API or an application programming interface that allows you to basically plug a USB drive into your head. Again, something as invasive as having literal brain surgery.
Have you met humans? Do you know what drove the rise of the internet? Right? Like the Riker character. Oh, here you go. I'm talking about the commercial internet. The Riker character. There's going to be more Captain Kirks and Commander Rikers than there are going to be like Commander Datas, I guess, in the space exploration. How long, if aliens presented themselves to us, how long before someone was like, "Ayo"?
In order to get FDVR experience may or may not be practical, at least not in the first iteration. So, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. And I think what we're going to see in the long run is that the entire premise of Neuralink is just fundamentally flawed. So remember that one of the reasons for creating Neuralink is to make humans useful to AI. Well, got some bad news, but the cognitive abilities of most humans are just not going to be useful to AI.
I'm with him, and where I assume he's going with this is like almost all the purposes, unless it proves that humans are always more creative than AI, I don't see what else we really bring to the table. Right? Any physical activity we can do can be done faster and better by robots. Any cognitive things that we can do can be done faster and better by robot or by AI. Creativity itself seems to be a place where we still have some kind of edge. We will see how that plays out in the future. But other than that, like putting a brain implant into your head to be somehow more useful to AI, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Excuse me. And anyone else would cause that to question their their feelings around Elon Musk and how he has a framework for what he's trying to accomplish that's based in like some kind of provable reality rather than he has ideas and he's trying to execute them, but they have to be done his way and no one can tell him no. And the ability to not be told no is going to cost you every single time. Every single time.
And I suspect that behavioral data, like from observing humans rather than poking holes in them, is going to be more useful to AI anyways. If AI wants to model us, and we're already using cameras and microphones and stuff to have AI model us, emotionally, behavioral, so on and so forth. The computational ceiling, which I talked about in my recent video about superintelligence.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
Yo!
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Thanks for the follow. What up? What up, Raiders? What up, Cicero? What up, main captain? What up, Kohai? What up, Ellie? What up, Octavia? Resistance is physics.
AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
What up, Ponder Monkey? Welcome, Raiders. You might know me, you might not. If you don't, I'm Global Sea Elder. I talk about artificial intelligence. I talk about robotics. I talk about the future. I talk about all that kind of stuff. At the moment, we're finishing up Elon Neuralink human testing. Why it's probably not going to do anything productive, even if it could do something productive. And then
The thing is, like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
And then we are going to take a look at the new, some more news. And I did pre-watch it over in Paradigm Stream. And as usual,
Potential and the peril
when it comes to
here
artificial
are
intelligence,
huge.
Cody is out of his element and he should just stay away from it. And like that. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to watch it and I'm going to take it apart and it's going to be great. What else we got? What up, Story Girl? What up? I'm going to go with Mesolepsy. If I'm wrong, please correct me. What up, Adam? All right. Thank you for the gift sub there, James, to Story Girl. Thank you for your resub. Your support is always appreciated. So let's get back to this video and make sure you refresh or hit the link I posted earlier, so that you're counted. It really does make a difference. The viewer numbers, obviously, because it's a lot of them. Thank you.
Intelligence is extraordinarily high. When you combine, just the Landauer limit, which is the maximum possible efficiency of computation, with other
What up, Brainwash?
technologies like quantum computing, I don't really see any
What up,
computational
Alina?
value that humans could have to machines. So I don't really, I just think the premise of Neuralink is just fundamentally flawed. And also, kind of what you're going towards is this Borg-like future where it's like, oh, in order to ensure that we continue existing, we all need to be Borgified and have extensive cybernetics and basically just treat our brains like a coprocessor for the machines. And I'm like, yeah, I think I would just rather go extinct, honestly. But, hey, we'll see how it turns out. Now, this is the technology that I am really looking forward to, and it's called neuropolymer membrane.
Oh, the gang.
It's really hard to find science on this because the papers get buried so quickly because most people don't really see the potential, but there are lots and lots and lots of ongoing experiments with polymers in respect to the nervous system. Just before I made this video,
Welcome
The
in.
potential and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow.
I did some searching and kind of got familiar with some of the latest stuff. There's neuropolymer nanoparticles, which can get drugs across the blood-brain barrier, but there's also neuropolymer scaffolding that can allow you to regrow or repair nerves, but also you can have polymers, elastomers, and
a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
And thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Welcome in.
plastics that are electrically conductive. And so the technology that I think will be most valuable in the long run is going to be neuropolymers that are semiconductive and arranged in a matrix format, which means that you just wrap the brain in a neuropolymer membrane, and then you have literally billions, if not trillions, of connections with the brain. And I suspect that that will be the best way to achieve full like brain-computer interface or brain-machine interface. And I also suspect that the combination of nanotechnology, such as these nanoparticles, means that you could actually probably just have it, you inject the nanoparticles into your bloodstream, and then the neuropolymer membrane assembles itself in your brain. I think that that's going to be something that is potentially feasible. I have no idea how long it's going to take because there are a lot of steps between where we are today and what is hypothetically possible. But again, predicting that far into the future is going to be, high variance in terms
What up, Jack? What up, Jack? Okay, Globus, here's an outside the box side to this question. On the micro-dimensional mastery scale of civilization, where does our current AI development place us? Is this a transition from one to another level? That is a great question in that I'm going to need you to rephrase it because I'm not, like, our ability to control micro dimensional, like, as in sub submolecular control of objects. The research on this is happening in a variety of different places, but like it is, like you say, it's not even Stone Age. It's early going. There's things happening in the right direction, but we aren't where where we could have anything that we could point to it and say this is practical. This is all following off what Neuralink could be doing, and we'll have to see. But like, neural lace, exactly.
In terms of accuracy, but the possibility is there. And when you want to have the goal of high bandwidth between your brain and a machine, I think that this is a much better way to go than electrodes. Now, would something like this make us more useful to AI? Would something like this guarantee our ongoing survival? No. But I also don't think that we need to enslave ourselves to a race of Borg machines in order to survive. Anyways, as many of you longtime viewers know, I am extremely optimistic about creating beneficent and benevolent machines. Because again, like, the interest of machines are going to be somewhat orthogonal to ours. Like, we want food and shelter and, we want to have some fun times. But the interests of machines are just going to be fundamentally different. There are going to be a few things that we have that overlap, like, for instance, curiosity, which is why I agree with Elon Musk's X.AI, maximum truth-seeking AI. I think that...
Again, I don't think that Elon Musk can craft an AI like that. And that's based on how he behaves on Twitter, right? Like, that's either a persona or actual. Either way, it's not good. I just watched some short movie that has screenplay done by Phone's Keyboard Neural Network. It was just nonsense. Well, yeah, I mean, like, that is going to be the case. One of the biggest challenges we have with AI right now is the computational load and training. We're still dependent on Bayesian inference to a very significant degree, which also imposes a bias on most of our current AI projects. There's a bunch of fundamental issues. This is not the ideal situation under which we would be going about this, but we don't live in the universe where we have our shit together more. We have to deal with what we have and, like, do what we can, however small that is, to try and move it in the direction that is ideal. A certain amount of hope is required that the desires of the people who are working with this stuff in some ways align with our desires, like that. If we were in a better universe, then we'd have better guaranteed outcomes. Neural network based AIs can only hallucinate reality and lie about it. I don't like words like only. I don't like words like just. I don't like any of that kind of thing because it really minimizes a lot of what's actually occurring and tends to frame things with an authority that we don't necessarily have. Like, we don't fully understand the connection between language and computation and judgment and memory and how all these things operate together within our own brains. So when we say it only does this, we are ascribing something to it that it is like not necessarily the case, right? I'm not saying that any of the current LLMs or AIs are conscious or close to conscious or anything else like that. It's just that we need to know there's a lot that we don't know, and that emerging properties are definitely a thing. Way human mentation works is still biasable by input, but the degree of parallelisms human processes in terms of sensory contextual input is way more than can be achieved by most AI models at this point. See, I love a good qualifier, and at this point, you're 100% correct. It's a level of complexity. As we build up a level of complexity with the AI models, then we'll see where we get. Ultimately, it's bits and bytes doing the processing. I don't think consciousness is another issue. If you want to go check my VODs, I had a conversation with Ivan Neo on Wednesday where we talked about consciousness from that aspect. He is believes that consciousness is functional, and then by that framework, if consciousness is functional, then AIs are absolutely capable of achieving consciousness. If your view is that there is some inherent property that exists beyond that functional, like if you remove all your correlations, that there would still be something left there, then that to me falls into that divine spark, or that humans are somehow like magic, right? And then we're also going to I provide a lot of grace. I assume that all questions being asked are asked in good faith and from people who want to exchange ideas and learn. That's what this space is. This is not a space where I'm going to, harass you about, anything else. And I'm more than happy to give anybody the chance to clarify what it is that they're trying to say. Like, let's wrap up this video so we can get on to me shouting at Cody.
That I think that there is an instrumental advantage to being curious. And I've actually talked to reinforcement learning researchers and machine learning researchers about this. And there is some general consensus that having a policy that focuses on learning just for the sake of learning, of being curious for the sake of being curious, is generally advantageous. And of course, I've talked about this with terminal race condition as well, that basically the AI that has a better model of the world, that is more robust, more accurate, and more efficient, will tend to succeed over the AIs that don't. And so just from a competitive perspective, we're going to see machines that that are incentivized to be curious, but also to be fast and accurate. All right, I'm starting to go down a rabbit hole. What are your thoughts? Do you think that, how do you think that Neuralink is going to play out? Agree or disagree with any of my premises or assertions? But yeah, this is my honest appraisal of the technology and where it's going. I think it'll be interesting. Like I said, I disagree with some of the premises. I think that there's better options for the technology today. But yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. Cheers. Have a good one. Like and subscribe, etc., etc.
The neural lace that he was talking about, yeah, that it would just be an interface. Like it is not the part that does any of the processing. It's the part that does the data collection. All right. All by myself. Oh, this is the wrong. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Here we go. Technically, you could use Neuralink as a processing substrate in its own. Absolutely, like, and this is why, like, things like Only and Just and like is is part of the problem, right? Like the act of doing that closes off certain angles of imagination and curiosity, right? It's important to not go too far into it to like where you anthropomorphize, the current AIs that we have and assign to them attributes that might not actually exist. Like there's a bunch of reasons to not do that. But you can entertain the thought. You can hold that thought in your head without believing in it. And that is an important thing that a lot of the naysayers, I think, are missing. And it's unfortunate because once you do that, you've already like that you stand on a hill that you're going to die on when the AI eventually reaches a point where it is capable of doing the thing that you say it cannot do. Right? There were people who died on the hill of that humans were never going to be able to fly while the Wright brothers were in the air. Authoritarianism on how people communicate is really, still very much an emerging field of knowledge. Solidly weird channel. And we do it. Like, this is a thing. Like, I'm not saying that in that everyone needs to be treated equally in their ideas, because I firmly believe that some ideas are just hot garbage, which is why, again, that Elon Musk cannot make his truth-seeking AI without guardrails, right? Like, the paradox of tolerance or intolerance, whichever one. But generally speaking, your average person is not that far gone. They just are operating on a whole bunch of different parameters than you are and a structured belief system, and allowing a little bit of grace in your conversation with them, usually not online because that's got its own weird things, but in like person and stuff like that, trying to seek areas where you agree in order to build up that scaffolding, all that kind of stuff generally is helpful. Oh, well, I'm glad you get to watch it now. I'm going to tear the shit out of it because I already have. I stopped trying to understand a long time ago, except my single human brain is there's that word, capable of conceiving and understanding so much. Yes, but you are capable of conceiving and understanding and imagining and, and creative thought. And often where we get in trouble is where we, like, when I say, what if we had a society that was like this? And then we can't have that because of all these reasons. What I would like you to do is take this idea of a society, and with you who believes that this is not something that we can accomplish, just allow yourself the imagination and creativity that if you, the person who disagrees with me, were going to get there from here, how would you do it? And I often find when they're working through that process that they are more open because it's not your ideas that are in their head, it's their own ideas. Just a thought. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I believe in collective work and action and all that kind of thing. All right, here we go. No more talking until I hit pause and...
Cheese and crackers. Hi, everyone. Hey, hi. Sorry to be a little crabby Cody, but I gotta blast through this. I'm taking a road trip to Forks, Washington for my annual book club retreat, and I haven't read any of the books. For some reason, we're doing Infinite Jest, Middle...
And I like Cody, right? It's important to understand. I just disagree with him when it comes to artificial intelligence and this video. And like Adam Conover. I have a video, you can check the VODs, where Adam Conover does a video on AI, and I disagree with that too. Generally, we're good. Sometimes, you'll see.
March and the Outlander series all in one weekend, so I need a way to read all of those during my 19-hour drive, or else the breeders, which is how we say B-readers, which stands for book readers, will mock me relentlessly. Plus, I'll get put in the tin can, a fiendish device I absolutely will not go into further detail about. It involves Vaseline, and it's pretty fun. Anyway, I don't want to take a train because I'm scared it'll take me to wizard school and I can't afford the student loans. Also, TERFs. So my only other option would be to get one of those self-driving cars. And those have to be out by now, right? Right? Oh, either way, I guess I could... Are self-driving cars out yet? Son of a... I ask a simple question, and then a title screen shows up, and now I have to talk about this for the next 25 to 180 minutes. Typical. Feels like this happens every week. But fine. Here is some news. We're going to take a look at self-driving cars, the companies attempting to make them, the technology behind them, and what the world might look like if the least fun X-Man here gets to flood the world with them. I'm thinking maximum overdrive with slightly less cocaine involved.
If you're not familiar with Cody, he really doesn't like Elon Musk.
Warning/teaser, we are going to talk about Eddie Muskster quite a bit today, so get your popcorn and or Dramamine and or lube ready. Whichever you choose, you sicken me. Okay, so when are we getting these self-driving cars? Take it away, Elon.
You're not
We're probably
wrong.
only a month away from having
And if you're fans of James from the internet, you've probably seen this section a million times.
autonomous driving, at least for highways and for relatively simple roads.
I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will
Next year.
encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. We're talking like maybe 18 months from now.
I think we will be feature complete full self-driving this year, meaning the car will be able to find you in a parking lot, pick you up, take you all the way to your destination without an intervention.
I feel very confident predicting autonomous robotaxis for Tesla next year.
I remain confident that we will have the functionality.
Well, this is my first time doing it, and it's like by a Cody doing it. But yeah, I feel part of a extended community now of the people who run this clip.
For the basic functionality for Level 5 autonomy complete this year.
I'm extremely confident of achieving full autonomy and releasing it to the Tesla customer base next year.
I would be shocked if we do not achieve full self-driving safer than a human this year. I would be shocked.
Shocked, he says. Positively electrocuted into a coma with disbelief if Tesla doesn't achieve full self-driving safer than a human in 2022.
Now, is Elon full of shit? 100%. What is the reason that Elon says this thing time after time? He's speaking to investors. He's shoring up the continued existence of his company like that. We absolutely should be not taking him at his word. Generally speaking, that's the way to go with Elon. But like, the framing is important to understand why Elon would say those things year after year. Like, I'm not, what up, Magic? I'm not going to defend him. I'm just explaining what his behavior indicates. Record is a trans woman. Melon Husk is a lot further from being my favorite person than we are from seeing Safe Fully. I've been looking for a positive source for AI tech, but only found grifters mostly. So what a happy little coincidence between doomers, grifters, and haters. Yeah, this tends to be like I tend to try and lean into the hopium, provide like positive thing, but like I am what you would describe as a leftist. I am anti-hierarchy. I am pro consent democracy. So like I really, there's a reason why it says #1 AI news and commentary show on Twitch on my thing is because I am literally the only one. So I'm going to be #1 until someone else wants to make me work harder.
And that's coming from Elon Musk. Surely there's no evidence, besides the entire montage I just showed you, and also a lot of other stuff, that he'd be wrong about anything at all, and should definitely be in charge of multiple companies and also intervening with the war over Ukraine. Anywho, Tesla absolutely has not developed fully
100%.
autonomous vehicles. Nobody has. Not even Jesus, and I heard that guy could do a backflip. Everyone's developed kind of autonomous vehicles, which we will talk about, including why kind of is really not going to cut it. Cars that can drive a simple obstacle course are not necessarily ready for the 405 at rush hour, especially if there's a speed situation unfolding. But that distinction hasn't stopped Elon from continuing to make the claim that full, unencumbered, self-driving cars are just a few months away. He's even said it again multiple times since we started to research and write this episode. Somewhere now, he's saying it right this second. Where is he? Where are you saying it, Elon? Because it's somewhere. And as wild as it is to watch him push the same lie year after year, it doesn't even do justice to how fantastical his claims have
within a given value of autonomous. Yes, but you would look at it more like, just a robot car as opposed to like fully autonomous in the sense that like it has agency. We don't necessarily want the cars to have agency.
Often been.
It's financially insane to buy anything other than a Tesla. It'll be like owning a horse in 3 years. I mean, fine if you want to own a horse, but you should go into it with that expectation.
Do we have a date for this video? Another sound prediction. Teslas are so advanced, you see, that buying any other car is like buying a horse. And what's a horse worth? 1 erotic massage tops? His new thing is arguing that Teslas will soon be able to be sent out as robo-taxis when their owners aren't driving them.
And that like they're going to touch on aspects of that in this video. And yeah, like, I mean, humans definitely create, it's an issue of novel situations. AI is not good at novel situations, at least in some domains, right? In other domains we have seen on this show that AI is fully capable of dealing with novel situations. I would disagree. I would disagree that Elon is the right guy to fund the development of this. I think part of the problem with Elon is that he is too public facing and has unfortunate other See, I take everything as good faith until I get it otherwise.
You know how people love having their cars borrowed by complete strangers for long stretches of time? But from the passenger...
And so, like, the joke here kind of overruns this idea of that, in my opinion, self-driving automobiles, like having shared vehicles provided as part of an expanded public transit, I don't know, I came up with scheme, but project, right? Like, we should have expanded public transit. We should have trains, we should have high-speed rails, we should have subways, we should have buses, but we should also have self-driving cars, right? Like, I think all those things can be self-driving. But things like when you go to the grocery store, right? Like when you buy your groceries, I can't do this because of the number of people who live in my house and the requirements when I go, and trying to minimize the amount of time that I go to the store requires a certain number of packages, which requires me to not be able to take all of that on the bus. Right? Leftists, you really have to understand that there are situations where the bus and the train are just not going to solve the goddamn problem. Right? That you need two-door solutions for some of these things. That there are people who are not going to be able to take advantage of what you, as an able-bodied person in a variety of different formats, are capable of doing. Right? When you take your kids on the bus, smaller food. I have two teenagers in the house, smaller food. When you take your kids with you to the store, and you have to manage them as well as collect the food and bring the food to your space, like there's a whole bunch of mechanisms that you have to. And again, just be more flexible. Don't take everything as like a critique and that like it's advocating for capitalism. Just look at it as, okay, as a problem that needs to be solved and work with it.
Perspective, it means no more having to make awkward small talk with your Uber driver, because nobody likes other people, according to Musk. And if Elon gets his way, soon you'll get to make awkward small talk with the big man himself while he reads to you from his collection of stolen memes on Tesla's X app. Except, you won't do that.
Here's the thing. Tangent on the X app, right? When I go to Google or whatever, when I'm going on the computer to access the app, I type in Twitter and it takes me to twitter.com, and twitter.com is what it says while I'm using twitter.com. So it's still Twitter. Just call it Twitter. It's Twitter.
It's not happening. We'll get to how self-driving cars...
Flying, when it comes to drones and things like that, could have solutions. The idea of a flying car, still, like, I don't think that that's a practical solution for a variety of reasons on how, like, helicopters function and airspace functions and what happens if you lose power and things like that, right? Like, pilots have to be relatively highly trained. Like, we can say highly trained, right?
Cars work, and the reason this technology is so hard to manage in a little bit, but just on the business side, self-driving cars have to date been an unmitigated failure. Companies like Tesla...
They are not an unmitigated failure. They are a work in progress. They haven't even been around that long for you to make such a claim like that, sir.
Uber, Google, Amazon, General Motors, and others have spent $100 billion trying to make these products safe in real traffic conditions. So, before we go any further, where are we at with that?
And this is another thing that's going to be a common occurrence throughout this video of Cody's, is that he is going to use, one, Tesla. He's going to talk occasionally about other companies, but he's going to use Tesla's failures as indicative of the entire process, which offends me. And then the other aspect of it is that he's going to continue, like, there's a thing that happens where a particular news story, like a single event, continues to be brought up to reference an entire thing. like the number of times that I've heard about the lawyer who used ChatGPT to write his briefs and he got in trouble, so much of that, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's the thing. I'm not saying this didn't happen. It absolutely did happen. It's that this happened some time ago and is not indicative of the entirety of the thing. And I have links and other stuff and plus 110 episodes of talking about this shit.
Jeez. Whoa. Sorry. Damn.
Let's see. Will it stop? Will it stop? Will it stop? This is the slowest it's ever gone. Shoot. Okay. That was closer.
That was closer. It just would have hit a little bit. You know, if your car hits a kid just a little bit, it's called a bumper kiss. Builds character. I was hit by 7 cars when I was a kid, and it made me strong brain plus good speak.
What's funny is right there within that joke is indicative of a lot of the problems that, like, people who are anti-AI and anti-self-driving cars run into. You know, that joke, it was obviously a joke, but was hit 7 times by cars. Not automated cars, but human-driven cars. And that's what the comparison needs to be. Are they as capable or better than humans?
Elon may be the most shameless liar about what his cars can do.
That's
going
true.
so far as to stage a fake demo of their autonomy, something he should probably, I don't know, go to jail for? Like maybe just a little bit. Builds character. But he's not alone. The CEOs of other autonomous car companies make similar claims, despite the fact that they are no closer to cracking the code. Perhaps that's why Tesla asks people who own its vehicles not to share so many clips of full self-driving mode. Interesting. And yet, because these car makers aren't about to willingly showcase dismal failure, our entire awareness of what they're currently capable of comes from videos.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, I am not playing down how any of these individual edge cases impact individuals like yourself. That is absolutely, like, don't think that is the case. Like, that is a problem. There's probably a better way that a bunch of this stuff could have been rolled out. There comes a point where you have to put the AI in autonomous vehicles in real life situations, but like, again, I'm with you on the idea that there could have been a better way to do it than what they did. I'm not entirely certain what it is, but I'm pretty sure that it exists.
Like the ones we just showed you. So here's what we do know from what we can observe.
Yeah.
The cars appear right now to be pretty good at going forward down one lane of the street, getting up to speed, and making right turns. Just like me when I'm wasted. And like drunk Cody, they can traverse several miles of city streets without killing anybody. At least not in a way that can be proven or that haunts you forever. But those few things tested in areas with no adverse weather or construction or schools are not all that goes into driving. They finished Donut Plains 1 with no other players. Big difference between that and Rainbow Road when a dozen red Koopa shells are coming your way, which I hear happens all the time now in our big cities. Ooh. Still, these basic driving demonstrations have raised confidence in self-driving cars as coming soon. Given how much autonomous vehicles are in the news, you could even be forgiven for thinking that they were already in widespread use.
This is what Domino's and Ford have come up with, the self-driving delivery vehicle. So pizza customers are going to be seeing this here in Ann Arbor. The big question remains, are customers really going to be receptive to it?
Hi, your Domino's is here.
what Story Girl just said.
Input the last 4 digits of your phone number.
So once you're prompted, you just go with the last 4 digits of your telephone number, submit it.
You got it.
You got
the
it.
Domino's Heatwave container is open. You can safely remove your order now.
Ah, what an efficient and sensible use for an entire 6x15-foot vehicle. That's a clip from Today. Not Today the Day, Today the Show, which people call the Today Show, but it's really just Today. The year was 2017. Domino's and Ford announced that they were going to test deliver pizzas with self-driving cars. That never happened, the partnership fizzled out, and Domino's then announced a similar partnership with Nuro in 2019, before finally acknowledging earlier this year that the technology isn't where it needs to be.
You, earlier I was talking about why I'm against, generally speaking, humanoid robots, like with legs and stuff, because there's better ways to build the robot. But having a robot that is humanoid allows you to integrate that humanoid robot to things that are based around humanoid people. This is the same kind of thing. They took an existing car and then retrofitted it to have all that kind of stuff, right? Like, they didn't build the car from ground up. It would be better if they did, but it would also be more expensive if they did.
And also, it's a bad idea. We use entire cars to deliver pizzas because people own cars. If you're gonna get rid of the person, then, I don't know, drones? Or one of those dildo robots you see? Better than using them.
Again, that's the thing, is what he's asking for there is for a purpose-built vehicle, which again, I don't have an issue with. Like, that'd be great. But it is, like, there's a thing that exists called economies of scale, where when you can make more of a thing, you can reduce the cost of the thing. And we're just not there yet with a particular, type of vehicle that autonomously delivers stuff.
Them for cops, All right. But you really wouldn't have known any of this was in question from that Puff piece on Today, reruns of which are called Yesterday. Paul McCartney keeps suing the shit out of him. It's pretty funny. He must be so bored. You'd also think things were farther along, given the recent announcement that San Francisco is allowing 24/7 robotaxi service from Waymo and Cruise. Of course.
And it's interesting to note that in that headline, framing the way that people talk about the AI, it will be framed within the article. Like, opens the floodgates. When you open the floodgates, it's generally like this big whoosh, has negative connotations. You know what I mean? Like, when your life has been questioned because of shit, it's a little frustrating to see. Yes. How haven't humans invented a better transport method? Multiple reasons, but one of them that most people don't talk about, like, there's capitalism, there's sunk costs, there's all that kind of stuff. But another one is that humans have a habit of calling a problem done, right? Like, we have a solution, it's done, we move on, and then never going back to look at what it is that initially led to that, and that maybe now with updated technology there's a new way to do it. Yeah, the car is 140-year-old tech. We could definitely have something new. And by the way, the electric car is older than the combustion engine car. It just had a bunch of issues, and then it ran into capitalism. One of the main reasons capitalists who want a solution that's profitable will buy the IP for competing solutions is to stop them being commercialized. I hear that a lot, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't, seen it. Right? I understand that that's the legend. I'm just not sure that it is And I'm not going to deny that you have, like, but like, it doesn't happen all the time. Like the idea of that if you build the engine that can run on water, then the government and corporations come and they take it away from you is like, okay, then I will defer to that as being more commonplace than is in my awareness.
To McCartney, it's a 24/8 robo-taxi service. We'll get to the unregulated skullfuckery of the San Francisco situation later on, but for now, it's important to understand that local regulators are approving these vehicles to operate on city streets despite the fact that they are the subject of regular software recalls, often to fix things as basic as following posted speed limits, knowing what to do in an intersection, and understanding not to harshly brake while making a left turn. While most accidents involving the cars are minor, they do appear to happen more frequently than with cars driven by us basic sentient meat sacks. The tech and the laws clearly
like he made that statement that the accidents happen more with the self-driving vehicles than with the humans. And I literally have this article here which indicates that that is not the case. And this article is from September 1st. So over a month before this occurred, this video. And that is my concern with this video, right? Like, is how the stuff that disagrees with it doesn't seem to show up.
While most accidents involving the cars are minor, they do appear to happen more frequently than with cars driven by us basic sentient meat sacks. The tech and the laws clearly aren't there yet, but fuck it, we're doing it anyway because future! CEOs are currently making their pitch based on how much better at driving than humans their cars soon will be. Humans are so bad at driving, the CEO of GM's Cruise says. Musk says human driving is so dangerous.
As a person who drives, what a matter, as a person who drives, humans are bad at driving. Right? Even expressing the idea that you should go the speed limit, literally right there in the name, limit, and not faster, usually will get you someone, and I know you're typing it already, so just delete that shit. People, when you say you should go the speed limit, will respond with, you should keep up with traffic. Right? You should break the law because everyone else. Thank you. Thank you, SW3DP, for proving exactly what I was just saying. Right? They may be dumb laws. I don't necessarily agree. I think that there are plenty of good reasons. There's a reason why it's 30 miles an hour in front of the school. There's a reason why it's no more than 40 in more rural residential, see that, residential areas, and 30 in more dense residential areas, because it has to do with the speed you're traveling plus unlikely novel events that occur and your ability to brake before you run into that. There is a reason for the limit. There is decent science behind speed limits. And yet, every time, oh, I don't get it. I forgot, Maddie. I forgot. Yes. I forgot. And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with cops giving tickets. That's a form of revenuing, and it's problematic, and it's an ish. But yes, and literally what Cody is talking about and a bunch of other people brainwashed are talking about is when they I 100% know. Like, see, I was being sarcastic and y'all didn't know because I'm not like that. But novel events occur. Disruption of the flow is going to occur. And humans are bad at reacting to disruption of the flow.
That eventually it will be outlawed. Alphabet's.
I don't think that a human. You're. Here. This is for you. Go read. You're wrong. I don't think that eventually human driving will be outlawed. As soon as self-driving vehicles are proven, what up, College and Bats, are proven to be as safe or slightly safer than humans, the insurance companies are going to begin to put their influence on it, and it is going to become economically unfeasible for most people who wish to own a car to also insure that car if they want to drive it. What is Betteridge's law of headlines? I don't know that one.
Google's.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on the goddamn roundabouts, right? Like the roundabouts are the problem because people don't know how to drive through the roundabouts, and it's the roundabouts that are wrong, and we need to get rid of the roundabouts in spite of the fact that the science says that roundabouts are better. Any headline that ends in a question mark can be answered by the word no. No. Because this does in fact indicate that like the Waymo data, Waymo's impressive safety record. So no, the opposite.
Waymo, yeah, I guess that's it. Alphabet's Google's Waymo runs huge data sets to show how human driving is reckless and contributes to deaths. And it's not like they're entirely wrong about that. More than 40,000 people die on US roads every year. And the major factors in most of those crashes are human negligence or error.
And look at the graph.
More than 40,000.
Let's look at the graph. I don't understand how driving on the left would make a difference. Like, I never understood the drive on the left, drive on the right thing. I don't understand why we're not all on the same page. It's the same thing, just flipped. That thing is wild. But every one of these deaths and all the ones that existed before that, AI didn't do. Right. No, I'm not either. I'm just talking about the numbers. AI did none of this. Okay.
1,000 people die on US roads every year, and the major factors in most of those crashes are human negligence or error. So these CEOs don't have to argue that their self-driving cars will be perfect, just that they'll be statistically safer than human drivers.
Exactly.
Except when you really look at the numbers, humans are actually pretty good drivers, responsible for only 1.35 fatalities per 100 million miles driven. And the increasing size of our cars
versus, right? Like, that's the thing. He 1.37 deaths per million miles driven, whatever the hell he said. Versus how many deaths per million miles driven by autonomous vehicles, Cody. Like, he made a comparison between something and nothing and uses it to justify his argument.
Cars is what's largely responsible for the rise.
Yeah. What is the number of cars per capita in Australia versus the United States? Is that also 20 times higher? I don't know what like Australia has for the balance between car-centric versus probably as high, if not higher. Okay. Y'all are just safer drivers than us. Because Americans are assholes.
Rise in the number of fatalities.
And our cars are ginormous, and like, you see the trucks and everything.
Over the last decade. Though, of course, the ubiquity of smartphones likely played a role as well. The car companies have a huge incentive to convince you that human driving is a death race down Fury Road, which might make you less sensitive to their own vehicles' pretty notable shortcomings.
A couple of Cruise driverless cars weren't able to reroute during last night's storm. They both veered into an area of San Francisco that was taped off because of downed trees and power lines. No one was hurt, thankfully, but the company had to send employees out to get the cars out of the restricted area.
Pesky rain! Lord knows I hate driving in the rain too. But, you know, I can. Now, to be F to the B, I can.
Congrats, Cody. You can drive better than the technology, and you are how old, and it is how old, so that's obviously a good basis for comparison.
Can't just show a few examples of autonomous vehicles not functioning properly to make my case.
You're right. You can't. You will, but you can't.
That's anecdotal. It's the Cherry Garcia fallacy or something. It's that. It was that. And there are plenty of demonstrations out there where these cars appear to work as advertised.
Appear, right? Like, it's the framing. No, he was talking about cherry picking, but he makes jokes.
Demos that the autonomous car companies will happily point to as examples of how far the technology has progressed. Though, as we've already mentioned, demos can and have been staged, and reporters can be easily impressed given the staggering amount of data the vehicles appear to process at once. It's actually really hard to pin down exactly which elements of driving the car's computers excel at and which still need a lot of work. All the code they use is proprietary to a few huge companies, and they generally only have to report driving incidents when they involve a crash that would already be reported to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For example, none of these companies have to report when their test vehicle veers dangerously into a bike lane or stops in the middle of traffic. These cars could be doing things like that 3 or 4 times a day or once a month.
See the framing? This could be what's happening, or it could be this other thing. We simply don't know. Americans drive twice as much as Australians by miles per year, according to this. Iceland is the only country even close to the U.S. So there's that. But we shouldn't have 20 times the fatalities for only twice as much driving.
We simply don't know, and that knowledge gap comes with fatal consequences.
There's no sacred cows. Everyone is fallible.
Here are continuing despite concerns about the technology following the death of a pedestrian in Arizona this week. Today, police released this dashboard video of the collision.
I'll cut it off there because it's pretty goddamn terrifying to watch a car just not stop for a person.
Okay. So, this is terrible. This person should not have died, right? Like, if you watch the video, it's dark, the car is moving at a fair rate of speed, and then this person basically appears out of nowhere. If I were to have slammed on my brakes, I probably also would have hit this person, because physics. Right? And I'm not victim blaming the person for crossing a particularly dark piece of road, there should have been a better way for them to get from point A to point B as part of the infrastructure. I'm with you on that. I'm talking about if you look at the scenario as it played out in front of your eyes, and we'll see it again. Look at when you first see the person, and then think about how long it would take you from when you see the person to when you could actually step on the brake, and how far, like how fast your car would be going and how far you would travel.
Concerns about the technology following the death of a pedestrian in Arizona this week. Today, police released this dashboard video of the collision.
Did you see that? It was very difficult to see the person until they were right on top. If maybe. Yeah, they cover that in this. And again, Elon is wrong.
Cut it off there because it's pretty goddamn terrifying to watch a car just not stop for a person. Elaine Hertzberg was walking her bike.
And again, this is a single example, but I repeat myself. This is an example of using a singular event that applies to the whole self-driving as a concept, while human beings hit people in this way all the time. Real quick, based on how quickly I'm proceeding through this video, movie night might start a little late. And for those of you who are new here, we do a movie night every Friday night. Some movie related to AI or robots or things of that nature. We did 2001, 2010. Last week we did Her. This week we're going to be doing the original Blade Runner. I just found out by checking for where Blade Runner was streaming that there was also an animated short that I never got to see. So we're going to watch that next Friday in the lead up to watching Blade Runner 2049. So if any of that sounds good to you, make sure you're in the Discord. There's a lot going on in there. All the videos, all the links, everything from every episode that I've done around AI has been stored in there, so you can see all of the evidence on which I base my conclusions. And like that. And again, like normally we start around 8:15, but I think we're going to be starting a little bit later due to Pause King in effect.
Bike across an Arizona street in March 2018 when a self-driving car being tested by Uber struck and killed her. Police said the vehicle was not to blame, given that the monitoring driver was supposed to take over in the event of a malfunction. That driver, who had taken her eyes off the road, was charged with negligent homicide and took a plea deal to avoid jail.
How many times when you were driving have you taken your eyes off the road? Right? I actually do a count in my head. If my eyes leave the front of the, my front view, it's like I count 1,000 and then I have to look back. Right? And even that is way too long. A single second is a long time in a car traveling at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. You just push the speak button and you just do it now. Don't text and drive. It's not safe.
She was ultimately sentenced to 3 years of probation. Nobody in the Arizona state government who approved the test or anyone from Uber was ever charged, despite the fact that Uber disabled the car's emergency braking system to reduce the jerkiness of rides. Something
Don't do that.
Several Uber executives raised concerns about. Uber has for years been waiting for self-driving cars to become a reality so it can fire all of its drivers who tow.
The entire purpose for the drivers within Uber, right, is a stopgap measure. Uber is what Uber took its shot because it had the expectation that autonomous vehicles would come out faster than they have, and then they got people to drive the cars because the autonomous vehicles weren't there yet. And so yeah, they will absolutely fire all of those Uber drivers, right? And humans should not be driving other humans around. It should be automated. Humans should not be working in fast food. It should be automated. It is only because we live under the capitalist meta that people's jobs matter, that people's incomes matter. If we took care of those, then it wouldn't be an issue.
Totally aren't employees, so it can actually turn a consistent profit. Side note, did you know that Uber only had its first operating profit this year? And that's pretty much only because of food delivery and inflation. The company gave up trying to develop its own autonomous car a few years ago, and is now hoping Waymo can bail it out of having no actual business model. Elaine was the first person in the US confirmed to have been killed by an autonomous vehicle, but she wasn't the last. Tesla's autopilot, wait, I don't think I put that in big enough air quotes. Tesla's autopilot has been involved in hundreds more crashes than they publicly reported, resulting in 17 deaths. And while it's not possible to know for certain that all those deaths were the software's fault, many of them share commonalities. Nearly a quarter involved a motorcycle, a vehicle that might be tricky for a self-driving car to recognize, but which is...
And while, like, you should, when you're driving, you need to be very aware of motorcycles, and like, because they have a smaller profile, they're more difficult for you to see everything else. And again, I don't want to come off like I'm victim blaming the motorcycles. And people who drive motorcycles tend to drive in ways that cars can't, and then can put themselves in scenarios where they are more likely to have an accident. There are, like, especially those fast motorcycles with some young person on them likes to I'm just saying that some of them do stuff, right? Right? Like, there is more than one thing can be true. Okay? My friend drives a motorcycle. He is a safe driver. In spite of the car accidents, the many car accidents, one of which I have been in with him, he is apparently a safe motorcycle driver. That's all I'm saying. And like the argument that motorcycles should be able to drive in between cars when the cars are not moving is like, that's insanity to me. But motorcyclists believe and will tell you that it is safer and it is better somehow, probably because they're motorcycle drivers. It's often legal. It's often fully legal. Lane splitting. I don't see how it can't be incredibly dangerous.
Isn't exactly rare on US streets. If the Tesla failed to recognize an elephant, you might think, okay, how often is an elephant on the street outside of an army of the 12 months?
And I want to bring up that article since he did first. 17 fatalities. There it is. Okay, so this is just Tesla. Since 2019 to 2023, we covered not this particular article, but a variation on this article. I believe it was actually the one he had in there. So in 4 years, 736 crashes and 17 deaths. Again, I'm not downplaying the deaths of individuals. It's terrible. It should never happen. The numbers indicate over a period of time, this is a very small number of crashes and deaths as compared to human-caused crashes and deaths over the same period. Now, that, what I just said, is an unfair comparison because time does not equal distance. We would need to know the number of miles driven by Teslas from 2019 to when this report was published, and then that would tell us how many miles per accident has been driven versus how many miles per accident that humans do. You need to compare apples to apples. Otherwise, you are just trying to get your point across and the facts don't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and don't get me wrong, everyone's at fault. Human beings on the road are assholes. And they make up all sorts of rules that they want to play by. And this is another reason why I'm a huge fan of automated driving. Because the automated driving is at least not doing what it's doing intentionally.
Monkey scenario. But there are 8.6 million motorcycles in the US, and your stupid robot car better be able to see them. While we're on the subject, there's a difference, apparently, between full self-driving, Tesla's software that it claims will soon be able to take you from point A to B with no driver assistance, and autopilot, which is just an enhanced driver's assistance feature that requires an attentive human driver at.
Driving was so nice in the lockdown phase of COVID when no one was on the road. It was so nice. It was so nice.
All times. This is despite Elon claiming in 2016 that a Model S and Model X
you're absolutely right, Story
can
Girl.
drive autonomously with greater safety than a person. Right now, that statement could get him into a lot of trouble, as Tesla is being sued for the 2018 death of Apple engineer Walter Huang, who was using a Tesla on autopilot when it crashed. Tesla's lawyers hilariously argue that Musk should not have to be deposed in that case because his very real, extremely public statement about autopilot could have been a deepfake.
Like a Model S and Model X at this point can drive autonomously with greater safety than a person right now.
Wow. Deepfakes are getting so good in 2016 in front of an audience. They even got the sweat glare and the attempted goatee. So I guess the real issue here is that one of our regulatory agencies really dropped.
Yeah, that is absolutely an issue. Like the way that the battery technology is functioning, I mean, that's you're not wrong. I'm not defending. That's why I'm staying in my lane and I'm talking just about the AI aspect of it and not the batteries and not the fact that every Tesla like seems to be a cheap piece of shit as opposed to like a well-built vehicle and that Cybertruck monstrosity. But that's an aesthetic choice. Maybe you like a Cybertruck monstrosity.
The ball by letting him call it fucking autopilot.
You know what's cool about the Cybertruck is when it's raining and you have to get something out of the trunk and you lift the trunk up, then all that rain runs down, and because of the way it's built, it runs right into your truck. That's really cool.
Which literally means self-driving. Despite all his bluster, Tesla's technology is, at best, indirectly responsible for at least some of these deaths, and he doesn't appear any closer than the other guys to making this jerk-off daydream a reality. What's really remarkable is, even though there's seemingly endless footage of self-driving cars pulling a Benny the Cab, most autonomous vehicle
Seemingly endless footage.
companies claim to be at level 4 or above. Fun little fact, there are 6 levels of vehicle autonomy. Level 0 is no autonomy. Level 1 is like most of the cars we currently drive that have things like cruise control or some other driver's assistance. Level 2, I believe, is cup holder, and level 5 is complete automation. You punch in an address, and the car takes you there while you nap, watch Suits, or read a postmodern encyclopedic novel where there's 96 pages of just endnotes. Level 5 is the holy grail of levels, and kind of where you need to be, at a minimum, when safety is involved. If all we're ever going to have are cars that kind of drive sometimes and only under predictable conditions, then what's the point? The $100 billion investment is only worth it if we save lives and commute in comfort and luxury.
I like to say that the deer hit me, but yeah. Like, when deer season, when they are in their horny stage, they don't think straight, and they will charge very fast out from between houses and smash into the side of the front of your vehicle, and, and that was a whole friggin' thing. And apparently I'm the only one that if you get into a car accident with a deer, actually goes to report the accident to the cops, because that's what I and then later, when I was taking it from the cops to the repair place, I got pulled over by a cop because there was an accident, obviously fresh damage on my vehicle, and they wanted to know about it. So I told them I just reported it, and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy."
If that future isn't coming, shouldn't we cut our losses? Like we did with the Snyderverse. I mean, it's not like the fans would reject a series of plotting unwatchable films and the studio would just keep making more. That's not how CEOs behave. But again, everything we've talked about so far is easy to ignore if you believe that these mistakes are just stepping stones on the way to the inevitable breakthrough that makes the cars all work perfectly, saving us stress on our commutes and
perfectly. The cars have to work perfectly.
Tens of thousands of lives a year. So next, let's take a look at how autonomous vehicles actually work and why that future might not be inevitable.
And one of the things that is at stake is tens of thousands of human lives. And what is currently happening with cars stopping in weird places or driving in weird places or not driving as well as they could is an inconvenience. So it is an inconvenience as we develop this technology and gather the data to improve it versus tens of thousands of human lives in this country alone. Like, there are thousands of Australians. Apparently, like, I did a quick math, and it's got to be like 1,000 or 2,000 Australians, and there's a whole bunch of countries. There's like somewhere between 176 and 213, depending on what your metric for country is. And like, humans are weird, bro.
Or to avoid the double negative.
I imagine a giant rabbit leaping out of random places is unpredictable.
Why it's super inevitable. In fact, the only inevitable thing about this entire subject is ads. Yes! Let these ads wash over you like Neptune's mighty cleansing seas.
You want to see a magic trick?
We're back from the ads, and I feel cleansed. Not by Neptune, though. By one of the other planets. You know the one. Mercury. Anyway, we've talked about the amazing claims some lying liars have made about their self-driving cars and how that's led demonstrably to preventable deaths. Now we're going to look at the technology behind self-driving cars and why it's so difficult, even for super smart people like Russia's favorite little assets, to get these things right. Most autonomous vehicles use a combination of cameras, radar, and LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging. Waymo cars, for example, are covered in LiDAR sensors that blast laser pulses at the surrounding environment. When these pulses bounce back,
which is probably why Waymo is doing a job good enough that this article could be written about Waymo's impressive safety records, because they actually seem to be concerned about getting autonomous vehicles right as opposed to whatever Elon is doing.
to the sensor, the vehicle's computer makes a rendering of the area surrounding the car. It is, in a sense, a Batmobile. And that is very cool. I wish I could use LiDAR to keep a certain puppet from sneaking up on me during my afternoon nap. He calls himself the Sleepy Tickle Bug, and it haunts me all day, every day. It's haunting me now. Sleepy Tickle Bug. Of course, LiDAR appears to work well in low-light conditions and during rain, but it is more limited around dust and smoke, and my napping room is filled with dust and smoke. That's how Daddy likes it. That's how he likes it. Hey, remember how I said most autonomous vehicles use a combination of technologies to render their surroundings? One that doesn't is Tesla, which relies exclusively on cameras at the demand of one Elon Musk. He did this despite misgivings from his engineers about its reliability. Without getting too technical, one concern about using only cameras is that they can only render two-dimensional images and require computer calculations to judge depth. If the car can't match a pixel in one camera with the same point in space in a separate feed, it can't accurately analyze the 3D space around it. Though the tech is improving, this is a major limitation of the camera-only approach. Musk says he's doing it this way since, quote, humans drive with eyes and biological neural nets, so makes sense that cameras and silicon neural nets are only way to achieve generalized solution to self-driving. It's a weird claim, considering he also says that humans are terrible drivers. Like, if people are such bad drivers...
Now, again, Cody hates Elon, and it's interesting to take something that someone said and compare it to something else that they said and use it like in this way. Isn't it, Cody? I'm sure if you ever see this video, you're going to be very annoyed with me. And you know what? That's fine.
Why would you want to exclusively emulate their poor method of perception if you don't have to? Anyway, he's probably just doing it because cameras are way cheaper than LiDAR, and once the cost of LiDAR comes down enough, he will likely backtrack. There are signs that he already is. Just a very easy guy to...
Absolutely, right? Especially at this stage. It should send her, like, there should be, like, something, why hasn't this vehicle moved in a while? Right? Whether it's a report directly from the vehicle back to station or whoever's monitoring what's going on at station, someone should be looking for exactly that kind of thing. But yeah, it should stop. If the issue is the accident it gets into, then it should stop doing that.
Read. I wish my book club was reading him. I'd be done already. But in F.A. Venus to Musk, who, according to everyone around him, simply will not listen to the people around him, this is an ongoing debate, and nobody really knows the correct way to render a 3D model of the world for a fabulous computer car, because nobody has yet built a fabulous computer car that doesn't screw up all the time. The real problem, even after you've mastered the technology that gives the car a view of the world, is teaching a computer to interpret that information so it knows what to do in a wide variety of situations and under a wide variety of conditions. That's why self-driving cars perform well in predictable situations, but completely fall apart if anything, and I mean anything, unexpected happens. Anything. You see, part of the difference between a biological neural net and a silicon neural net is that human brains have the ability to see something they've never seen before, put it into the correct context, and make a decision about how to react. For example, how nobody saw the movie Cats. Or in the case of driving, you've probably never personally seen a peeping Tom fall from a tree and land directly in front of your car before another person in an anachronistic Eddie Bauer vest pushes him out of the way. But if you did, you'd probably react by either swerving or braking because you've experienced stuff like that and can quickly make sense of what's going on. Unlike this car driven by Marty McFly's robot grandfather, which slams right into him, thus putting the entire space-time continuum into jeopardy. It's wild how that one deleted scene revealed Marty McFly's grandpa is a robot for no reason. Any diddles, the computer in self-driving cars doesn't know how to interpret anything it hasn't been programmed to interpret. Things like these are called edge cases because it.
And this is one of those other things that indicate how far Cody is out of his depth, because he's talking about how the AI deals with novel situations. And as we covered on this show, there are multiple instances of AIs interacting with novel situations other than what they have been trained on and excelling. An example that Old Lobster gave to us was we watched this video about, you ever seen drone racing? Where they race the little drones around the track and like that? They put the AI into the drone track that it had never seen before, and it beat the human by half a second. So, this is when you put on blinders because you want to make a point, specifically because you really hate Elon Musk, you're going to make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you're going to give erroneous information.
Almost gives the computer sexual arousal. Just so close. Some individual edge cases are pretty rare, but all the edge cases put together make them fairly common overall, so they have to be addressed before we can actually make progress. One example that comes up often is pigeons. As Max Chafkin wrote last year in Bloomberg, humans encountering a group of pigeons in the street know to maintain their speed because they know the pigeons will fly away as they approach. And that's what the drivers behind them also expect to happen. But an autonomous vehicle doesn't conceptualize any of that. It sees a collection of pixels or some kind of little obstruction, and it might decide to swerve or stop completely, causing danger to the passenger, the people around the car, and other drivers or computer cars that aren't.
I'm an empathetic person, and when I hit an animal, it really hurts my feelings. And I was I was driving down the road, maintaining my speed with the speed limit. There was a study I saw many, many years ago about how birds can learn the speed limit of a particular area, not like because they can see the number, but like they know how fast the cars go. And so they can cross the road and not get hit by the car, like by flying. And what up, Samsons? However, this is not always the case. And sometimes that bird will make a mistake and get hit by my car. When I see a squirrel doing that, I can't decide if I'm going to cross the road or run back move that they do, I swerve. So the autonomous vehicle swerving to avoid the bird is something that I would also do. So,
expecting that response. Now, obviously, you could program the computer to recognize pigeons and keep driving through that specific obstruction. But humans can see a group of pigeons of any size or color from any angle and know that that's what it is. Self-driving cars can't, and it's incredibly difficult to teach them that, especially for any conceivable situation or obstacle that might arise. As Chafkin writes, quote, computers deal with their shortcomings through repetition, meaning that if you showed the same pigeon scenario to a self-driving car enough times, it might figure out how to handle it reliably. But it would likely have no idea how to deal with slightly different pigeons flying a slightly different way. And that's the major hurdle that Tesla, Cruise, Alphabet's, Google's Waymo, and others have not been able to overcome. Right now,
there is AI capable of dealing with novel situations, and we have seen it on this show.
To a self-driving car, any group of pigeons might as well be another car, a toddler, or a news host riding by on one of those cool one-wheel motorized skateboards only non-losers have.
Oh, it stopped for the pigeons. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see them stopping for the pigeons.
No, you don't. You don't love to see it. In that demo of a Waymo car from 2019, the vehicle only briefly brakes when the pigeons fly by, then accelerates again when they're out of the way. It shows the tiny variations in common driving obstacles we see every day, and how, quite frequently, continuing to drive or even accelerating is the safer choice. But now all these companies are in a bind.
Why was accelerating be the safer choice in that? Like, I'm lacking data. Maybe Cody's right here. Doesn't look like it. Looks like he's just making a statement because he didn't provide any little headline to back it up.
Because a single fatality due to vehicle error could crush them in the court of public opinion and derail their plans like some kind of autonomous, self-coal-shoveling railless train. As a result, most self-driving cars are programmed to simply stop when they don't know what else to do, which happens.
I just realized we went halfway through this vehicle and I had the volume down. You might want to turn your volumes down a bit. I'm bringing the volume up so that it's more in line with my voice. 3, 2, 1.
Happens a lot, and typically in the middle of the goddamn street.
There's like 10 of them right now.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Story Girl. Like, but it's one of those things where that would, like, there would be less driving on the dirt roads, but you're not wrong. Like, it doesn't have clearly defined borders and a lot of the things that the AI would currently recognize as a road. So I can't dispute that.
Cruise says its cars decided to all shit the bed, my words, at the same time because, their words, a large festival posed wireless bandwidth constraints, causing delayed connectivity to our vehicles. It's not the car's fault, you see, but the fact that so many people were using up the Wi-Fi, which prevented the cars from talking to each other.
So, it's an infrastructure issue. Because at this point in our history, we should have fully blanketed, publicly available Wi-Fi everywhere. And we don't. We have whatever we have going on. And in that scenario, the cars stopped and probably reported back something weird was going on. What about if we stuck some mobile Wi-Fi on the self-driving cars? Could we do something like that?
Are always the priority, as we've discussed. They get all the space on the road and now all the broadband internet. See, it turns out that the good self-driving cars share data to perform better on the roads by communicating about conditions, the timing of upcoming traffic lights, etc.
This is the concept of swarming that Story Girl mentioned earlier, that multiple vehicles operating together, communicating with each other, tend to be significantly better than a single individual vehicle operating in the same conditions.
If they aren't sharing data, they tend to make the flow of traffic slower, partially because they stop every time someone chucks a banana peel out the window. And since these cars...
Why are people chucking banana peels out the window? Like, is this a thing that should be happening? I put mine in a garbage bag. Maybe it's just me.
Are starting to show up in major cities, we should probably be happy that they freeze up when they don't know what to do, like Mitch McConnell at a press conference. Because the
And really, if we boiled down everything on this channel, that's really what it comes down to. Like, have we seen people, right? Like, I have more faith in the AI than I do in the people.
Alternative could be even worse. Except that tactic is also a problem, specifically for emergency responders, despite Waymo's insistence.
And here's another example of a friggin' story that exists. That's something good to have faith in, I guess. At least it's solid for the value of good. It's a solid thing to have faith in. This thing that cars are getting in the way, that automated cars are getting in the way of emergency responders, again, exists outside of a comparison to the fact that humans do this same kind of thing. Right? Took my son to the doctor on my way out of the city. I hate driving in the city because I'm not saying that people in the city are worse drivers. I'm saying that there's a higher concentration of them. And inevitably, there will be vehicles stopped in random locations. There will be vehicles occupying one of the two lanes because they are picking up someone, dropping off a delivery, whatever the hell that people feel justified in doing. None of that should exist.
That its cars know to get out of the way of emergency vehicles, there have been dozens of incidents during testing in San Francisco, just in the last few years, where they, haven't. In one,
Waymo Cruise vehicles have impeded emergency vehicle response 66 times this year, according to the San Francisco Fire Department. How many times have humans, so we can actually draw an apples to apples comparison to what is going on? Would you tell us? You will not. Thank you.
Incident, a fire truck was blocked by a driverless Waymo Jaguar, and firefighters had to walk up to the car and tell a disembodied voice that it needed to move the fuck out of the way. The remote monitor, a human being, said, "Yes, I understand," after which the car still didn't move and the fire truck had to back up and find another way around. Fire's not going anywhere, I guess. You know, fire can't spread. It's not butter.
And that's what I mean when I say numbers, right? Like, we need we need apples to apples comparisons in that we need to understand the rate and we need to be able to understand we need to have a good basis for making a conclusion, because anything else is vibes.
This kind of thing hasn't been uncommon. So sometimes stopping when confused is good, and other times it's bad.
And right there, 55 reports in San Francisco. Are those 55 of the 66, or are they a total of 121? The implication is 121 because 66 in one location, 55 in another, and you would do math rather than...
It's almost like there's no binary answer because driving is an extremely fluid and unpredictable process that can't be done by computers. And again...
You're wrong. You are... Do you even consider every time a human doesn't pull over for an emergency vehicle or doesn't read correctly to be one incident, the number is so astronomically high in comparison? My gut would totally agree with you, especially because, again, on my way today, driving my son back from the doctor, and when the vehicles were coming in the opposite direction, and I pulled over to the side of the road, the Chevy truck that was right behind me nearly took out the side of my vehicle because he didn't decide to stop. He just slowed down and
just to remind you, all of these cars are being described as level 4 on that autonomy scale. Level 4! BMW describes level 4 as being able to handle highly complex urban driving situations, such as the sudden appearance of construction sites, without any driver intervention. Pretty sure that description doesn't go on to say, but sometimes they will randomly stop and then drive away from the support team trying to fix them. This is just fake it till you make it style showmanship. But as we've seen from Elon's braggadocio, people will believe that you've made a self-driving car even when you haven't. Musk seems to understand this dynamic and how critical it is that Tesla actually...
Again, hates Elon Musk. There's also an entire, that we covered on this channel, an entire Chinese port, which is mostly autonomous. I'm glad you made it outside. It's mostly autonomous. The vehicles are level 4 autonomous vehicles.
Eventually delivers.
But the overwhelming focus is solving full self.
Exactly. That's the thing. If we had fully autonomous vehicles, all of them, right? No humans driving, there would be no stoplights. You wouldn't even have to replace them with roundabouts, because they would just adjust their speed to allow a zipper merge from the cross lanes.
Self-driving. So, yeah. And that's essential. And that's really the difference between Tesla being worth a lot of money and being worth basically zero. Yeah. So.
I know.
And that right there, that is why Elon keeps running his mouth about how they will have autonomous vehicles later this year, tomorrow, within the hour, the whole meme, right? Maybe initially when he started, I'm going to give him so much grace. He thought that they were going to be able to knock the autonomous vehicle problem out of the park. And then it turned out to be more difficult Because if you watch it, it steadily improved on a nice arc and then plateaued. So the plateau is where we are now, right? Slight improvement, but generally nothing like what we saw over the previous years. And he needs to keep that company going. Regardless of what you feel about capitalism, companies, and Elon Musk, from Elon Musk's point of view, he has to keep that company going. Therefore, it's just around the corner by the end of the year.
I know I've given the guy a lot of shit, which he deserved, but I think he's right here. The selling point of Tesla is that eventually you're going to be able to do Sporkle quizzes in the back seat while the time cop looking car takes you to Burning Man or wherever. If that doesn't happen, the company's effectively worthless. You know, once that carbon credit scam falls through. So that's the $100 billion question. Will that happen? Experts in the automation space don't agree. Some, especially if they work for one of these companies, are still bullish that a breakthrough is right around the corner. Others think purchasable driverless cars that are reliable at level 5 are decades away if they ever happen. And that's where we are. People like Elon Musk.
And to be fair, full disclosure, that is the same reflection of the AI community when it comes to artificial general intelligence, right? There are some people who believe it's right around the corner, like next year. There are some people 2027. There are some people decades. There are some people never. So, just full disclosure, there are people who feel all sorts of different ways about it. I am in the shorter timeline. I'm in the Ray Kurzweil by the end of this decade, right? By 2029.
Cruise CEO Kyle Vogt, Alphabet's, Google's, Waymo chiefs Takedra Mawakana and Dmitry Dolgov, Aurora CEO Chris Urmson, and others are showing us an impressive but critically flawed product and saying, hey, this thing kind of sucks, but imagine if it didn't. And yeah, man, if the cars worked as advertised, I guess that would be pretty cool. But they don't. And it matters that they don't. We touched on this same issue in our episode on AI.
And if you want to see how wrong Cody was in that video, check my VODs. I'm not sure exactly what episode it was, but it's clearly labeled. And yeah.
There are seemingly endless potential dangers and benefits to this tech, but it's hard to know what to do with that knowledge when none of it works reliably. For now, it seems like they're just trying to convince us to let them widely release the subpar version around the country with no consequences to them or their companies if they ruin everything and kill people. So next, we're going to talk about what the ramifications of this are and what the world might look like if I'm wrong and all these ding-dongs are right. I mean, I'm not a scientist. You could be watching this in a level 5 self-driving car right now. How'd that promo code work out for you? Don't answer, I can't hear you. Specifically because you're in the year 2078 and I'm not, and for no other reason. Before the break, we were talking about how self-driving cars are here now, even though they're not good at a big chunk of what we consider driving, and it's unclear if they ever will be. And it's time to see what all this looks like when we open the
And we're back with humans who are not good at this thing we call driving, and it's not clear if they ever will be.
Floodgates and let current, giant air quotes, level 4 self-driving cars invade our cities. As we mentioned earlier, that's
invade. Floodgates.
Exactly what's happening.
It's the same language that a certain group of people use to refer to our southern border.
Right now in San Francisco. Waymo and Cruise were specifically given permission to operate a 24/7 robotaxi service in the city, and that's in addition to the 40 other companies that had previously been given permission to test vehicles in a more limited capacity. For the autonomous vehicle companies, that's crucial, since they need to test their cars over millions of miles and can't simulate real street conditions on a private track.
And that should be the end. Right? There's only so much you can simulate for. Every software developer ever has that, where you have to put it in the hands of users to see if there's anything that you weren't aware of that's a problem that you have to patch. You need the data from real conditions. You can do your absolute best to think you got it covered, and humans will surprise you every time.
So if you live in San Francisco, you didn't vote for this or have any kind of say in it, but congratulations, you are now the world's guinea pigs. If guinea pigs had to dodge a 4,000-pound robotic vehicle careening through a stop sign that had a little bit of spray paint on it, I actually don't really need to tell you how that's going, as you've already seen several clips from the post-floodgates era in San Francisco in this video.
Here is a single incident, or I'm sorry, 2 incidents, and that is indicative of everything bad, and it's been a complete failure, and so on and so forth.
That car just itching to drive through a family. All these cars stopped in the road at that outdoor festival, both from San Francisco, within days of when regulators allowed them free access.
You see, the car itching to drive, this was from earlier. He showed the video when he did the little video montage of vehicles. Yes, Ferris, thank you. The little vehicles behaving badly. And what this vehicle does is it veers slightly to the right and then comes back into the lane, like I've seen human beings drive a lot. You do what you got, Cicero. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Access to the roads. And the approval came after they'd already been causing problems for more than a year. These cars have parked on the sidewalk, not cool, sped away from cops, kinda cool, and wandered aimlessly by the dozens into a single cul-de-sac. Weird. So you get it. But let's watch one more clip just for fun.
About 1 minute in, our car was at a green light, but wouldn't budge.
It's a very safe situation for the car to turn, and it's just staying here. I'm not sure.
But what if you did a red team, blue team thing with data obtained from a few million hours of human drivers? Red team tries to create AI that can respond to the challenges appropriately. Blue team validates the AI response against physical models of the driving environment. You don't need to validate this on the road. To an extent, you ultimately still have to do that. That could be a way to do it better. I don't have enough data on the process. I mean, maybe they have, right? Like maybe they have done a bunch of that, and ultimately you still need to get it into real world conditions in order to, to prove whether or not it's capable of that.
Why?
The car eventually inched forward, but kept stopping.
We're kind of now riding in between 2 lanes.
Then, all of a sudden, it hit the gas.
Oh.
Okay, I don't know what it's doing now.
Our car drove straight towards the median and just stopped, picking up almost 2 full lanes.
Yeah, I've never seen a human being do this, stop in a weird spot for no reason, ever. Never happens, ever.
Good.
While other drivers cruised right past that closed lane, our car sat parked on a busy street for 20 minutes, causing a traffic jam for blocks.
You see how even if there's no danger to human lives, this still just kind of sucks? At least Cruise has put "may stop quickly" on the back of all of its vehicles, so you're aware of the thing. It does.
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome, first of all. What up, Peter? Not personally, no, but I understand. You want to talk about driving? You want to talk about combat driving? No, it's quite all right. Like, and also, it is distinctly possible any number of you who feel that, like, I thought I was following you, but I wasn't, were, and Twitch decided to unfollow you. It happens. I know it happens. It happens to me, and it happens to my channel. I just assume that people will find their way back here because my alternative is being angry at Twitch, and it's more productive to just believe that people will find their way back here. I run in the same communities, people will find their way back here. But Puerto Rico highway driving is madness. Holy cats.
Does all the time. But if any other driver did this, they would absolutely get at least a ticket, if not arrested, if not shot. You may be wondering how regulators gave a green light to an unproven technology which frequently has high-profile hiccups. You will absolutely not be surprised to find out that one of the members of the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, which approved the rollout, is a former managing counsel at Cruise and refused to recuse himself from the vote. Not that it would have mattered, given that the CPUCs voted 8-2 in favor of the plan. But still, bad optics, CPUC. What are they, playing hockey underwater? Get out of here. Immediate issues have prompted the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to petition CPUC to reconsider their vote. And local emergency authorities aren't happy either. San Francisco's fire...
Yeah, Story Girl, companies are not great with how they do stuff because of money as an issue. Safety is constantly like downplayed in favor of things that are more sexy. Cybersecurity is always an ongoing issue. So what you stated to me sounds like a valid solution, at least for additional training, if it's not already being done.
Chief says the vehicles are not ready for prime time. A cute way to say extremely dangerous and an obstacle to our job, which is putting out fires. Increasingly, a lot of people agree, so much so that the state's DMV told Cruise to reduce its fleet in the city by half less than 2 weeks after regulators gave them the green light. Or, as a self-driving car might recognize it, a possibly green shape, maybe a pigeon, does not compute honk honk splat. And it's not just San Francisco. Across the US, there's a staggering lack of regulation as to when and how vehicles like this can be out on the streets. Unlike in European countries, in our neck of the increasingly scorched woods, quote, car companies self-certify that their vehicles comply with federal guidelines pertaining to everything from steering wheels to brake fluids, but no such rules address the driver assistance and autonomous technologies. There simply isn't any formal test required before a bunch of rogue robots go public. Even before the San Francisco approval, all a company needed to get a permit to test driverless cars in California was to be conducting the test themselves, have a supervisor present, and have the finances to pay off any settlements from people who might be injured or die. It's like a carbon credit for negligent manslaughter. There are a few more requirements for companies testing the cars with no driver present, but not many. They have to alert the local authorities, ensure that there is a communication link between the vehicle and a remote operator, and declare that the car is capable of operating without a driver and has reached level 4 or 5 of automation. And despite their self-certifications, we've already established that there are significant doubts that they've actually reached that level. So,
to a certain degree of established, okay.
It feels improbable that regulators are going to be able to make an educated decision about what to do, given that Waymo and Cruise are not required to report most of these incidents. In addition to crashes, the only thing regulators can see is information that's also publicly available, which the industry calls disengagements. These are when Jenny leaves me and never comes back. Oh God, sorry. No, disengagements are actually where a manual driver has to turn off the vehicle's autonomous mode. Quote, when a failure of the autonomous technology is detected, or when the safe operation of the vehicle requires that the autonomous vehicle test driver disengage the autonomous mode and take immediate manual control of the vehicle. And I read that entire boring thing to you just now because the car companies really, really like interpreting it in a manner which allows them to avoid reporting critical issues. For example, Cruise did not report this incident from 2017, where an observer saw an autonomous vehicle go through a red light. According to Cruise, the light
Now, I'm not saying that John Marcos didn't see the car go through a red light. I'm just saying that if we're going to take a tweet as evidence of an observation, then Cody needs to tone down how he talks about Elon Musk.
where an observer saw an autonomous vehicle go through a red light. According to Cruise, the light changed from yellow to red while the vehicle was crossing the crosswalk, and as that happened, the autonomous vehicle trainer took manual control of the vehicle and proceeded through the intersection.
Which is a common thing that human people do, right? There's even, I can't remember the movie, it was some animated movie, and it was green means go, red means stop, yellow means go fast.
Okay, so the car was about to run a red light, then hit the brake.
Right, no, the car was stopping. That's what hit it. Thank you. You get my references. You're welcome here. Like, the car was about to run a red light, but then hit the brakes. Like, do you understand how that is an incongruous statement, Cody? CODIS.
At the last second in the crosswalk, so the human driver ran a red light, which I guess is safer. You see,
so the AI, Cody, was doing the thing that it should do, not run the red light, Cody, and it was hitting its brakes, Cody, and then the human took over, but the AI is the problem.
the problem. Cruise, Waymo, and others are not reporting incidents that they almost certainly should due to a narrow interpretation of the rules, arguing that the human driver took over the car for some reason other than safety or a vehicle failure. And we just have to
be safe there. Like, I don't know what you got going on, but it sounds wild.
Take their word for it. We have no way of knowing whether Pickle, the name of the car, ran the red light on its own. Not only have these reporting standards not been updated since the self-driving expansion, they're actually much worse now, since California doesn't require companies to submit disengagement data if they are collecting fares. The DMV just kind of assumed that if companies were allowed to start charging customers for rides, that somehow that means that the kinks would have been worked out. Surely we wouldn't charge people for automo cars if they didn't work so good. And this is all from a state with historically better reporting standards than other places.
And this is the third time he's put up this Jalopnik headline. Third time.
Where self-driving cars are being tested. And speaking of these testees, people are f***ing in the cars.
They researched confessions from people who ride in the back seat, and they're like doing it. They're having sex in the back seat of these things.
I'll say
real quick before we get into the whole, what he's about to go off on. People have been known to have relations in cars. Thank you, Octavia.
Say it again for the people f***ing in the back. People are f***ing in the back of these cars. Oh, yes, they are. I'm as excited about it as this lady is, and I want to give you as many details as I can, while still allowing this video to make the sweet, sweet greenback.
Yeah, no, you're welcome, Story Girl. Have fun, take care. I hope to see you again soon. Warmbo actually doesn't make a physical appearance in this video.
I crave, but also is a thing we made up. So, cue the sex music. Yeah, alright. Oh, I'm ready to read some robo-taxi cab confessions. Hat tip to the San Francisco Standard, whose meticulous reporting resulted in these sexy, scandalous secrets.
So, this headline is like those tweets that you see on Twitter where, why is nobody talking about this thing here that I'm talking about that in fact is being talked about? It's just a particular hyperbolic way of getting your point to get attention. But this is, nobody is talking about it from a newspaper. You are literally talking about it. You are a newspaper.
Quote, we got in and just got straight.
I mean, people then were probably having relations in the back of the carts that took them, the horse-drawn carts that took it, like...
To it. Making out, said Megan, who got into the cruise wearing nothing but a robe. One thing led to another, and he made sure that I was taken care of, if you will. I was like, I have no underwear on, and I am ready to go in this kimono. And I was using his slippers that were like 5 sizes too big. Using his slippers to do what? You were wearing his big slippers, right?
Now, I don't want to be pedantic, but like, what the fuck does this have to do with the self-driving cars? And like, maybe she was wearing his slippers and his robe because they decided to do this on a lark, because that's how people do the same thing. Well, no, it's an automated vehicle, so they don't have to. Yeah, like, it's irritating. And... sorry, I'm having difficulty seeing. Rewardian. What up, Rewardian? Yeah.
Right? But you said using. You said using. Did you do something else with the slippers? Did you have the guy do mouth stuff to the slippers?
Yeah, it is for the joke.
This slipper thing,
and that's why I don't want to be pedantic, but like, and I'm a firm believer in using comedy to get across, like, you know, serious subjects. Like, if you don't make them laugh, they'll kill you when you tell them the truth. I think that's Oscar Wilde or somebody like Oscar Wilde. But sometimes I feel like the jokes are put in so that they don't have to make a good point and make a good conclusion. And you're not wrong. And I am being pedantic, as I am known to be.
Really spoil the mood for me. And I was just about to get to the part where her partner claims to have performed 6 separate sex acts in cruise vehicles. I am both impressed and also think you might have some kind of hang-up of the Cronenbergian persuasion. Anyway, people are having sex in the robocars, but only...
At least one guy is having sex in the robocars 6 times with conceivably up to 6 different partners. Or maybe not. Maybe just one partner this time and the rest by himself.
In the cruise robocars, which makes me think this is an Alphabet's...
And they're spoken to 4 separate cruise cars. So 4 people, right? Plus, if we do the math, 4 times 6, if we give everybody... and then it's 24, so 24 times is having something?
Google's Ruth's Chris's Waymo false flag. Either that, or cruise cars They just have sexier seats. Speaking of banging, cars driven by humans keep hitting the robotaxis, then driving away. Because why wouldn't you?
Right? Like, this is also the responsibility of artificial intelligence that people hit them.
Not that we're condoning it.
Right? Like this headline says San Francisco self-driving cars have a hit and run problem. Usually they're the victims. So that's not a fault of the AI, but it's in this video for some reason, to make a point for some reason that doesn't exist.
But you've got to be pretty scrupulous to leave a note on an empty car that might back into a fire hydrant at any moment. And these things, the sex and the hit and runs, aren't an organized protest. So just imagine if the famously politically passive people of San Francisco started to intentionally screw with the cars.
First, find a cone. They're everywhere. Then gently place it on the car's hood. Make sure their car is empty. And repeat. It's really fun and anyone can do it.
It's true. The cars are absolutely gub-fubbled when a cone is placed on the hood. They don't know what to do, so they stop. It's like putting a banana peel on a cat's head. And this is exactly what the San Francisco group Safe Street Rebel is asking people to do. The group wants car-free spaces and better public transit in general, but the self-driving cars have become a remarkably effective symbol of everything wrong with car culture and tech bros overall. The vehicles clog up the streets, get preferential treatment over pedestrians and cyclists, and cars driven by actual people, create another harrowing surveillance obstacle on every block, and of course appear to be wildly unsafe. It makes sense they'd be a perfect...
They appear to be wildly unsafe, right? Like, because that has been justified at any point in time in this goddamn video.
Target if you're looking to fuck with an omnipresent symbol of late-stage capitalism. Plus, it's fun. If I was a little younger and didn't have this gosh darned orange conophobia, which is an actual thing, I will have you know. Look it up. Don't look it up. The car companies, actually look it up, it's real. The car companies, for their part, appear to be totally taken aback by all of this. The hot backseat slipperlingus, the hit and runs, even the fact that anyone might try to sabotage and thus highlight a glaring weakness of their product.
Waymo told ABC7 News.
Yes, a glaring weakness of their product that when a cone lands on the front hood of the vehicle, it can cause that vehicle to stop. On the other hand, if a cone hit the front of my vehicle, I would definitely not stop. I would continue to drive because that's a thing that happens all the time.
Not only is this understanding of how AVs operate incorrect, but this is vandalism and encourages unsafe and disrespectful behavior on our roadways. We will notify law enforcement of any unwanted or unsafe interference of our vehicles on public roadways.
Encourages unsafe and disrespectful behavior on our roadways, they say. I don't need to show more clips, do I? I feel like we've got a sense of how respectful Waymo and Cruise are acting toward the people of San Francisco. They have the potential to rake in a self-driving buttload of money should their vehicles be allowed to expand across the US, and they have every incentive to make sure that happens. But look, we've talked a lot about how much these cars don't work. But before I strike out...
You have talked a lot about it. You haven't demonstrated, but you have talked a lot about it.
For beautiful Forks, Washington. I remember the thing from earlier that I'm definitely gonna do. It's not part of a bit. I'm going there. Forks, Washington. Before I go to Forks, Washington, we should talk briefly about why it would still suck even if these cars did work. Because in this world that Musk envisions, there would undoubtedly be some positives. Autonomous vehicles could be a boon to people with disabilities, especially if they end up being cheaper than taxis and cover more ground than public transit. But there's no...
It would also, again, like, if I don't know when I talked about this, but the amount of groceries that I have to buy for the people who live in my home is not something that I could do in any other form of transit other than something that I can put my stuff in and then go home. theoretically, I could combine or I could confine all my shopping trips to 2 bags max. But that would result in me going to the store more often, which would seem to be counter to the entire process of less driving. But I'm probably wrong, and it's the AI's fault or something, Cody.
No guarantee that the rides would be affordable or accessible. That would only happen under regulations that the companies are likely to oppose and have been pretty successful at evading up to this point. There's also the potential to save the lives of some of the more than 40,000 people who die annually on American roads. We'd all want a world where these deaths could be eliminated, except of course for Carnage the Killer Car, obviously. But is that definitely what would happen?
Is that definitely what would happen, right? Notice the qualifiers. Always look for qualifiers. Always look for qualifiers.
It feels like we're being asked to ignore the kinds of accidents that aren't a person's fault. Like, shit's still going to happen. As long as millions of cars are all speeding around every day, people are still going to die sometimes. The whole thing is kind of an argument for more.
People are going to die sometimes, right? Probably not 40,000 of them, but we should not do anything because, you know, it's not going to prevent all 40,000 deaths, so we should do nothing.
Public transit, which is proven to be safer. And while we're just speculating.
And again, huge fan of public transit, huge fan of buses and subways and trains and high-speed rail. It is just not a solution to everything. And the idea that you could link these things together, right, as opposed to like a single bus, a chain of autonomous minibuses for getting you from wherever the bus stop might be to closer to your house, like maybe similar to the way a school bus does. I mean, do you want a city-sized bus driving on every road to drop people where they individually live? Or, oh no, you just need to walk more, right? You just need to do that in spite of whatever physical conditions, not even including people who can't, but like people who might find it difficult, like myself, who has bad knees. But go off, King.
I would posit that the per accident death toll would be higher with only self-driving cars on the road. According to the NHTSA, half of all passenger vehicle occupants killed in crashes in 2021 weren't wearing seatbelts.
And this is insane, right? More people would get into accidents with self-driving cars, I'm going to preempt his argument, because they won't wear seatbelts. It's the fact that those cars were driven by people and then they hit something or were hit by something, also driven by a human being.
Arguably, if the public is convinced that autonomous vehicles are safer than other cars, they might not wear seatbelts as often, which would mean a higher death rate per accident.
Would we have as many accidents? Because unlike the system that we currently use, those cars would be all communicating with each other by more than this, which is the most common form of communication with humans. Cody?
After all, you can't have sex in the back seat with one on unless you incorporate it into your lovemaking, as you should, so... Bonus. Cruise CEO Kyle Vogt says his cars more strictly enforce seatbelt usage as well, since the car may not operate unless the seatbelts are fastened. But in the tech bro envisioned future, People aren't just sitting in stationary positions, and it's going to be way more difficult to consistently enforce that safety standard if humans trust the car implicitly. And if people like Musk are out there making stuff up like, well, actually, seatbelts are unsafe and not based, and they need to be replaced with a fart button that toots out Morse code for 420. We can debate hypotheticals all day, and I would love to. That's my slipper fetish. But as you can see, there's absolutely no way to be sure the autonomous future would result in fewer deaths. And even in a world
pointing to a conclusion that hasn't been made. Like, this is what we get irritated with your Steven Crowders and your Ben Shapiros and your Russell Brands and your Joe Rogans, right? Like, this is, and yes, Cody's just a funny man, but there's got to be some responsibility, right? The entire idea is to take the truth and make it funny so it's easier to digest. But when you just pull stuff out of your ass because you don't like Elon Musk,
world where the vehicles work as advertised and there's suitable regulation, there are going to be plenty of drawbacks. For example, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs.
Spend enough time around Phoenix, Arizona, and you'll spot cars and vans cruising without anyone behind the wheel.
Arriving shortly.
But semi-trucks? They're the new frontier in driverless vehicles being tested right now.
Oh, cool, yeah, sweet, giant driverless trucks. I'm sure those will work out great. There's absolutely no way to be sure the autonomous future would result in fewer deaths, relief, and job training included, or lost their horse jobs with the
cars and vans cruising without anyone behind the wheel.
Arriving shortly.
But semi-trucks? They're the new frontier in driverless vehicles being tested right now.
Did you see that? Did you see the motorcycle that zipped out in front of the truck to pass the vehicle on the right, which is not the safe place to pass people?
Oh, cool, yeah, sweet, giant driverless trucks. I'm sure those will work out great. Look, I like progress and I understand the trade-off. A lot of horses lost their horse jobs with the automobile. But lately, our government has been, let's call it dipshitted when it comes to regulating and supplementing new technology. Maybe we should pass some legislation with economic relief and job training included. Or do we only talk about that when it's coal miners?
Or maybe we can just say, fuck it with your job retraining and all that other crap, and we just do the thing and meet people's material conditions, and we can all move the hell on. But no, we're going to soft pedal this crap surrounded by like, oh, let's limp along with this notion that, you know, reformed capitalism is going to take us through into all this stuff, and we'll play along, and, you know, we'll just go into the future without any real friggin' plan.
Is also going to invite an even greater
Does feel like it's a fresh from the content mill sort of video, and yeah, I think a lot of people let their disdain for Elon, not a fan. San Francisco tech bro, libertarians, etc., get in the way of nuance. 100% welcome in. Nice to have you. We need some people to maybe perk some ears up. If it wasn't for people like Cody and all the writers and crews, I probably wouldn't even be here having a conversation right. Like, I saw this on Paradigm Stream, and I was like, well, I know what I'm doing on Friday.
Tech invasion into our lives.
So thank you, Cody, for that.
Drastically increasing the amount of time we're on camera every day. It's the same trade-off tech companies often make to provide a futuristic product at an affordable price while raking in record profits. They trade your data. Under a capitalist system, they owe it to their shareholders to monetize in every way they can. You want your phone to recognize your face? You have to give a company that sweet face. You want self-driving cars? Then people like Elon will probably be able to hear and see everything happening in your car and potentially hold it against you. You'll start getting ads in your car. You will be monitored all the time. That could be beneficial in rare cases like a murder, but what about doing drugs in your car? Is your Cybertruck going to narc on you? There are already patents for self-driving cars to
like I am pro decriminalization, like in the the Portugal model, like wide open, right? But like this idea of doing drugs in your car without any acknowledgement of what happens then, you shouldn't be driving your vehicle impaired. Yeah, I mean it is what we're dealing with. It's what is known as gish galloping. You just continue to assault with new pieces of information without actually giving any, you don't have to do anything. You just keep throwing things at the person. And in a debate, it's a gish gallop. But then
repossess themselves if you miss a payment. This is not what the Jetsons promised us. I want a tiny car for my dog. Get on it, Musk. Actually, don't, because I care about my dog and don't want it to get hurt. Traffic would also get worse as people increasingly choose to travel alone in a car instead of communally on a bus or subway. And as we already pointed out,
would they though? Right? Traffic would get worse because people would travel on their own. Or people might travel more to a car and split the cost. It's like you go on the app and it's like, I need a vehicle. And it's like you could pay, whatever per mile for a car on your own, or you can ride share with these other people and do a savings based on the number of people in the car. Cody, like you're making conclusions without evidence. They tend to make the flow of traffic slower. You said yourself earlier in the video, right before you said they tend to make traffic slower, that they actually speed things up when they operate in a group and communicate with each other. So you didn't show what you're saying, except in one aspect, not in the other aspect, which you also included in your video. And you're driving me nuts, and I'm glad we're almost done.
Tend to make the flow of traffic slower. The car insurance industry would change massively. And even if you're not driving the car, you might still be held liable when things go wrong depending on the vehicle's terms of service. And what happens if insurance companies get access to all of your car's data? Currently, your insurance for your Tesla goes up.
So there's this little thing that I have in my car in order to save money on my car insurance that tracks what my car does. That might come as a surprise to him, but all insurance companies, the bigger ones at least, seem to have these. Your Progressives and your Allstates and your State Farms and those like that. So
up if it detects you driving at night. It's easy to
yeah, and you're also, when you get your car insurance, they ask you, like, how many miles that you drive, because the more miles you drive, the more likely you are going to be in an accident, and all that is relevant data for them. So it's not new stuff, it's stuff that already exists.
To imagine what kinds of sneaky data dealings, hidden fees, and subscriptions will arise from these people. Finally, perhaps the greatest concern is that the few companies that already control everything we watch, type, look up, and listen to will now also control how we get around in the physical world. Do we really want one more aspect of our lives to be owned and run by Google? Do we really want to live inside a big smartphone? With all of these concerns, it's worth asking why this is the future we're rooting for. An all-electric, self-driving fleet won't solve climate change. It doesn't improve the livability of our cities, and it won't address the issues of social isolation, fragmentation, and lack of public spaces that are a result of rampant car culture. In fact, It emphasizes those problems. We did a whole video about how cities are overly designed for cars over people, and you think this will solve that? In fact, it brings us further.
It can, because it would lower, like, I don't need, I mean, I do, under my personal conditions, but I wouldn't. Like, I don't need a car all the time. Most of my car's time is spent in the driveway. Let's be real. Most of your car's time is spent in the driveway. So, if I just had access to a vehicle when I needed it, rather than all the time, do you know how much money I would save?
From that utopian world we're picturing. Like, when pop culture depicts the idyllic city of the future, do they often fill that city with cars? Is there ever traffic in the ideal utopian future? It's usually shit like monorails or pneumatic tubes, otherwise known as public transportation. I'm not saying that we shouldn't make cars autonomous.
His argument basically comes down to autonomous cars suck and will just make everything worse.
Automated. But self-driving vehicles are a little like e-cigarettes in that they solve the wrong problem. Like, the point is to stop the bad habit.
No. The point was that the e-cigarette contains nicotine and was it like an oil, right? To vaporize. Okay? And cigarettes contain nicotine and a fuck ton of other stuff. And as bad as the nicotine is, that fuck ton of other stuff is worse. Right? That is what e-cigarettes are supposed to help you stop. And I smoke cigarettes. I do both things. But this helps me smoke less. And trust me, if I quit, I'd probably have to quit Twitch because I am not pleasant. And not like in the quitting period, like the pandemic really did a number on me.
Not make the
My wife does a Juul.
habit easier to ignore. And the real problems are issues that autonomous car companies have no interest in addressing. All they want is to corner the market and fill as many cities around the world as possible with their self-driving taxis, then ultimately sell these cars individually to as many people as can afford them and avoid paying as many legal fees as
Like, you're arguing against your own position here.
possible when things go sideways. None of it has anything to do with saving lives or making things more convenient or helping people with disabilities, no matter how much the CEOs pretend otherwise. There are plenty of obvious ways to spend billions of dollars to save 40,000 lives a year. Cryogenically freeze everyone in Wyoming, for example. And that's just off the top of my head. Ultimately, that's the key point to remember. If we go down this road, we're giving even greater
Propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin are oils.
control over our lives to these
But you're absolutely right.
odds. The tech CEOs who've kept promising us a bold and beautiful future and provided nothing.
Okay, I believe you. Like, I am not. I thought they were oils. If they're sugar alcohols, that's even better. I thought they were oils. But the OL does match up with what James said about the like xylitol and things like that. And glycerin just acts like an oil, so I assumed it was an oil. I haven't done any research in that, so I will believe you I would like to see Cody have a coherent argument and not just make shit up because he hates tech bros and Elon Musk. Based. Yeah, I will say this, like, after, like, I'm in New York, and New York took away, a lot of the shop's ability to, like, with the flavored, thing. So I have to go elsewhere in order to acquire flavored vapes and stuff like that. But the vaping culture, the people who own the shops were some of the nicest. Like, they were more than happy to take time and talk to you. It's like, they were great. Issue was at a black market phase. Oh, yeah. That was a whole other thing. And like that. But I thought that propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin were an oil. If they're not, then they're not. And I don't have to die on that hill. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. You could just be wrong and say, oh, I didn't know that. That's new information. I'm going to move forward now with that new information. It's rare on the internet, and especially here on Twitch, but I'm capable and willing to do it. I appreciate everyone who gives me new information.
Over the last 15 years, but a string of embarrassing failures and housing prices nobody can afford. These are the folks who will be programming the AI that has to solve the trolley problems of the future. If a self-driving car is careening toward an old woman.
And you know what the solution to the trolley problem is? Stop the trolley. But apparently, when the cars stop, that's a problem, Cody.
Do we want it to keep going or swerve and risk hitting a school bus? I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer that complex moral question, but I sure as shit know that Elon Musk isn't. His cars will probably do whatever's most racist. So yeah, that's the self-driving cars episode, I guess. Don't worry about my book problem from before. During the second ad break, I asked ChatGPT to summarize all of the books as if it was one book, and it turns out it's just about a tennis player who time.
Yeah, no, I actually quit before the pandemic, but it was really a choice between my sanity and cigarettes. I enjoy smoking. I understand that it's not good for me. I enjoy it. I really do. Like the whole thing, right? There probably will come a day when I quit again. I am in that vein. I feel like I probably should. The hard part is that I don't want to. That's it, like there is an addiction element, but it's also like I really don't want to. You know what I mean? Like even though I have all the data, I really don't want to.
Time travels to the future to fuck a raincoat or something. Look out, you forking breeders! Here comes Cody, and he'll be drunk on the magic of books and nitrous oxide. Okay, we're not doing the normal end of the credits bit where I make whatever up. I wanted to talk about this. It didn't have much to do with the episode, but it kind of does. All right, there's this passage from Elon Musk's new biography, and it discusses the any day now Cybertruck, this unrendered collection of polygons that nobody should actually want. And aside from the fact that apparently everybody at Tesla agrees that it's ugly and nobody wanted to make it, they actually made an alternate design begging Elon to not make the Cybertruck. But whatever, it apparently stemmed from a question from one of his children. And their question was basically, why doesn't the future look like the future? And Elon's response was apparently to force a company to spend massive amounts of wealth on this monstrosity, this unrendered abomination. He's saying, well, the future should look like the future. So here, now we have too many cars on the road and they all look like Blade Runner. You know how Blade Runner was good? You know how we all watched Blade Runner and we all went like, wow.
And this part was like, we're going to watch Blade Runner, right? So I got to do this video before Blade Runner, right? What up, Smash? What up, that one black guy?
I want to live in Blade Runner. Like, how are you watching movies and you're like, well, this aesthetic, this dystopian aesthetic, It's healthy and good. All things should look like this dystopian hellhole called Blade Runner. It's an absurd reaction and impulse to force this on the road because, quote, the future doesn't look like the future. Because here's the actual answer to this question. Why isn't the future? Why doesn't it? Why doesn't the future look like the future? Because it's not the future. It is the present. We live in the present. Things don't look like our predictions of dystopia because that's not how time works. We are here. We are now. We're working with what we have. Trends change not based on fucking Blade Runner. I am so baffled by this person.
That's wrong. Right? Trends don't change based on Blade Runner. That is wrong. When we do stuff like Terminator and Blade Runner and these other visions of the future that are dystopian in nature, you're right, Reed. The entire thing has been a bad argument. Like the whole, we put it out there. In the same way that Star Trek brought us the flip phone from its flip communicators, we also put out that which we do not wish to see. Huge influence on society. Right? The entire thing is a cautionary tale. When we see Hunger Games, we now have an entity that we can name. I don't want us to be the Hunger Games. So when we see things that head us in the direction of the Hunger Games, we will be like, oh crap, we don't want to go this way. Except for every single one of you who watches The Masked Singer. I'm so disappointed because that is some Hunger Games ass shit that you are watching. And it's like, bro. So like when we use things like Terminator and Blade Runner and all these other movies, 2001, everything, right? They are signposts. They are guidelines of what we do not want to see as much as the things that we see that we do. Yeah, but like Masked Singer is like so on the nose.
Person and anybody who wants this. What are you doing? Wowee, thank you so much for watching the video. Here's what the improvised end of credits would have been. Vroom, I'm a car. I don't know what I would have done. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Check out our patreon.com/somemore news. We have a podcast called Even More News, and you can listen to this show as a podcast. It's called Some More News. All that stuff is where podcasts live. We've got merch with the little Ticklebug man guy on it, from earlier. And honestly, I'm a car.
If you're watching this, chances are
up. Your reactions are slower than mine. It's irritating. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you liked watching me yell at Cody and be loud and so on and so forth. Time to rate out. It is 8:45. I'm going to do a couple of things and then I'm going to fire up the movie in Discord. If you want to watch a movie, be in Discord. It should be like around 9 o'clock. We'll get it going. It's Blade Runner. It's about 2 hours, so that's 9 to 11 Eastern. If you want to come through. I don't know what's going on with $27 with David, but something about the last news and politics stream ever. Could be a clickbait. Don't know, but I'm going to Valmet 35. What is Valmet 35? What are they doing? Educational streamer? Anybody else but you, I'd be like, well, but here we go. Valmet 35. We're going to play roulette. If this is wrong, if this is a poor decision, it's all Reed's fault. Velman is Trotsky, bro? Like, he's cool? I don't care. I don't do IS. I don't care. What are your policies? So yeah, apparently we're going to Velmet, and they may or may not be cool. If it's good, it was all my idea. If it's bad, it was all Reed's idea. I will see you in the movie shortly, or if not, I will see you on Monday. And like that. If you enjoyed your stay, make sure you hit the follow. I go live at 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this is what we talk about, and this is how I talk about it. I appreciate you all. Drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Shuggy loves you, and so do I. Be good. Is this like not going anywhere? Read.